Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Rollo! I make so much money off my OnlyFans, my girlfriend. I'm not that insecure in my masculinity. Oh! Yes. I understand. We've talked about this before. Yeah, I will be getting into game today, too, as well. We're going to do a two-part show today, I think. Had to hit on this, though. Is your girlfriend, maybe even your wife, is she an OnlyFans star? Are you paying your bills? Because of your girlfriend's OnlyFans account? Yes, it is I. I am your host. Write down this toll-free telephone. Sorry, wrong guy. Thank you. No Ned today. It's a Wednesday show. Ned hardly ever comes in here on Wednesdays. I wipe him out, by the way. I usually wipe him out with a good long walk. You're welcome. Actually, I was fascinated by the show on yesterday. Well, actually, I guess it was last night. The late night show for Fresh and Fit podcast had Kiki Clout and Sterling Cooper. It was almost like Battle of the Network Stars or something. Battle of the Porn Stars. It was good. No, it was funny. It was very entertaining. It was infotainment. And thought it was. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. It's entertaining. Go look at it. Thank you. I know. Are you here for the Greyhounds? I'm sorry. I'll be sure to put them on as I am redesigning and reformatting this wonderful studio right now. I've been messing around with the lighting once again. I'm looking at a different key light right now. As you can see, the fill light is a little bit different today. And I just received this beautiful little A6400. So that's going to be, I'm going to get that into the mix here. I'm still using the Logitech thing for the time being. I also have a multi-camera board coming in too, so I'm going to be able to get a couple of different shots. I won't have to like scroll through it or go through StreamYard to do it. It's just going to be one click pretty much. So I've got my audio board. I've had this for a while. I like it a lot. But after I came back from Miami, I realized I needed to get a video board. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I have a softbox going here. I got some other things that I'm working on as far as the lighting is concerned. So I'm going to start monkeying around with that a little bit here because I have this great mirrorless camera, which is awesome, which was contributed, by the way, by a watcher, viewer, reader. I don't think he wants me to use his real name, so I'm just going to call him his online name, which is El Zorro Plateador. We'll just call him Zorro. How's that? Zorro gave me the camera, which was very, very generous. I was thinking about just putting the money down and going and getting it, but he offered and I accepted. So thank you very, very much. Probably by Sunday you'll see the results of the new studio or the new revamp, I guess, of this area in here. I want to put a little color in back too, so we'll see how it goes. I'm a student again when it comes to video production, particularly online live casting. I'm pretty good when it comes to Adobe Premiere and motion graphics and things like that. I can handle that, but I mostly do live streams, except for I just did a short. I'm sure some of you have probably already seen it. It's a 1-minute short. And by short, I mean it's a short in the sense that YouTube is coming up. They're beta testing right now. What are called YouTube Shorts, and they are pretty much just like 1080 by 1920, basic standard tall, I guess portrait dimensions for like on a cell phone kind of thing. It's kind of like YouTube's answer to TikTok / the Instagram stories and things, which I also have been doing a bit of since I got back from Miami, courtesy of Fresh from Fresh and Fit. And so I've been working with that. I did my first test run yesterday. If you haven't seen it, it's in the video list. You probably already have though. And people are really responding positively to it. The thing about shorts is this. So I wanted to clarify this right at the beginning because everybody's going to ask me about this. And I know you only watch the first 30 minutes of this damn show. So bear with me for 1 second here. The thing about the shorts is this, is they're only allowed like 59 seconds or like 60 seconds for a YouTube short. So it can't be over a minute. So all you guys are saying, oh, you need to go for 5 minutes instead of like 1 minute. I'm like, well, the experiment was a 1 minute video. And I'm just kind of trying to tease out things from the videos that I already have. And yes, I have them archived, just so you guys know. I know a lot of people are asking about that too. It's like, do you do archive these shows? Are you going to be able to host them in case you go down or whatever? I don't see that happening anytime. I'm not that big a channel just yet. I mean, I'm at what, like 75,000 subs. Please sub to the channel and they'll increase. But I'm not that big enough to really take too much notice of just yet. In fact, I'm kind of glad that I am under 100,000 right now, sub wise. I don't pay for subs. I don't pay for views. I don't pay for, I don't go to China and ask them to please comment on my videos. Everything you see here is organic and will remain that way. That's another thing people ask me all the time is, man, your channel should be huge. How come you're not bigger than Better Bachelor? How come you're not bigger than these guys? So, well, first of all, I do long form stuff, right? As you know, I do anywhere between, let's just say I am averaging anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours and 15 minutes, depending on the day and depending on the topic. Unless I have if I have a guest on here, it's guaranteed to be a short show. And by short, I mean like 2 hours long. And I know some people complain about that. Some people love it. You either love it or you hate it. So I'm trying to find a happy medium with these shorts right now. If I decide to do anything that's longer than, like, say, a 1 minute video for the shorts, then it will probably be more like a 10-minute video. So look for those in the future. I'm kind of, messing around with that with the new video equipment and the new video stuff that I'm doing right now. So yeah, that's coming soon. A lot of people are really enthusiastic about that. Thank you for the support. I actually put a poll out, and truth be told, a lot of people, especially in the manosphere right now, are doing polls on YouTube because it increases or helps you with ranking. So I don't want to do those just to spam polls, but if I'm doing polls, then that's, I'm experimenting, let's just say. So, but I did a poll and I asked a lot of you guys like what you wanted to see more of. And I'm usually not the kind of guy who plays to my audience. I do what I think is pertinent and relevant. And I think, especially my Sunday shows, my Wednesday shows are more kind of like fun, like red meat shows, right? We're doing this topic today. My serious shows, my class shows, my professorial shows are really on Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, as you probably already know. I will be getting back to the mechanics and the articles of game. I mean, maybe towards the end of the show, I'll talk a little bit about that today too, because I know a lot of people want some more practical. I don't want to call it advice because I don't give advice. So let's just clarify that right now. I don't give prescriptions and I don't give advice. I'll give you tools. I'll tell you why those things would work. I'll tell you why PUA or game or whatever it is that you want to know why. In fact, we're going to talk about that today. As a matter of fact, I'm going to explain to you exactly what's going on with OnlyFans right now and sort of like, the sexual marketplace for sure. But I wanted to dig into this because I'm going to be responding to a tweet by, I guess the guy's name is Coach Joe Hart. And I don't know him. This is not an endorsement for Joe. I mean, he was very, I thought this was an interesting tweet, and I thought that it would make for some good conversation today. So I do not give advice. I am not a pickup artist. I'm not going to give you infield videos or anything like that, but I will tell you why those things work and how you can apply them to your own life if that's what you choose to do, okay? This is not a black pill show. This is not a blue pill show. This is not a TradCon show. This is just my show. This is the Rational Male. There you go. So no apologies. I got a couple of things going on here. Let me grab these. Again, here's the rules. If you're going to give me super chats, please try to stay on topic. If they are not on topic, I will do my very best to get to them by the end of the show. If I happen to blow by them, please email me and let me know that I blew by them, and I will try to answer them via email. All of my contact information, all of my links, if you want to support the show, everything is in the description. I also always give you at least 3 different relevant links to what we're going to talk about today. Those you can find also in the description below. Been with the girlfriend for a year in person, but doing LDR the past 3 months due to COVID. Is longer LDR okay given the unprecedented pandemic? No, it is never. And thoughts on Corey Wayne. I've told you a million times about Corey Wayne. I don't have really any opinion on Corey Wayne because I don't really follow him and I don't know what he talks about, to be honest with you. LDRs are not long distance relationships are not relationships. End of story. You can go there. I've got a great essay. Actually, I think it's in book 1. It's called Letting Go of Invisible Friends. And that's what you have is an invisible friend. She has all of the benefits, and actually you have all of the fun security blanket security of saying, yeah, I'm in a relationship, but you're not seeing that person. You don't really have a relationship in the sense that you are practicing in that relationship. So when people talk to me about long distance relationships and can it work? No, usually it doesn't. Statistically, it doesn't. Is there occasionally a chance that maybe you're going to, beat the odds? Yes, maybe. But I would almost be a little bit more skeptical and a little bit more careful by beating the odds than I would about not beating the odds, because the odds are you're probably going to break up, or she's going to meet somebody else and she's going to start banging some other dude. Or you are. Who knows? Most likely if you're a guy and you have engaged and you've kind of locked yourself into the idea of a long distance relationship with a person, you're more or less confirming your beta. You're more or less confirming that that's what you're willing to accept. That's what you're willing to do. And I know it sounds all romantic and Shakespearean and all this romantic ideal BS, but that's more or less that's what you are telegraphing to her subconscious. I'm willing to accept this because I am so optionless and so unsure of myself that I will make up this fantasy world of being in a relationship with you from 100 miles away. And I'm faithful to you, baby. Don't worry. Everything's going to be good. One of the things about long distance relationships between men and women is it only benefits the woman. Man, I'll talk about that. Yeah, I should really, you know what? I'll write that down in the great big book of everything. We'll do a long LDR episode one of these days. Let's see. The more things change, the more we need to depend upon those that never change. And I don't listen to anyone who doesn't have a wife and children. Well, thank you very much. You can view me as proof of concept, but a lot of people want to say that that's why you shouldn't listen to me, right? Don't listen to Rollo. He's got a wife and a kid. I can't believe it. Well, you do what you got to do, man. I had a plate who swore she only slept with 2 men and yet had every type of kinky underwear you can imagine. Listen to Rollo and your instincts. Thank you very much for that. And lastly here, Asanji is already in the house. I have a friend who is new to the red pill. His father is a gamma, a feminist mom, and boy, cards are stacked against him. And a little sister who opened an OnlyFans account. How can he change that? He can't. End of story. How can he change that? How can I change their behavior? You don't. And stop trying. You don't. That's this. Really. I mean, how much do we have to really go about that, right? I mean, how many times do you have to be told that the only people whose behavior you can change is your own? How many times do you have to be told that you're probably not going to change anyone's mind? Seriously. You're not going to, oh, thank you for that sticker, my friend. I wish I could post stickers. That's one thing I really wish the guys from StreamYard would do is get me those again. All right, so here we go. The reason why I wanted to talk about today, what I wanted to talk about today as far as OnlyFans is concerned, is because I'm seeing a lot of this. And let's see. Oh, you can share video files now. I didn't know that. There it is, Joe Hart. This wasn't really cool. I thought this was interesting today. So this is where I want to start today, so bear with me. I'll take me out, my ugly mug out of thing. It says, if your girlfriend has an OnlyFans account, you do not have a girlfriend. That's all. With the one sentence, right? Just a collection of, a dozen words there? Something like that. Right. That's it. And as a result, we have, let's see, 2150 retweets. We have about 1,100 quoted tweets, and we have 21.8 thousand likes. Well, let's just clarify here. Those aren't actually likes. Those are probably just sort of there to to bookmark this thing so people can show it off. Because if we go through, and I have to be very careful of this because this is a family show, at least for the first 30 minutes, this is a family show. So I'm not going to show you every one of these. Now, granted, a lot of the guys that I follow are going to be in here and they're going to be like, do not be, yeah, she's for the streets. Got it. Okay. That was funny. Like, she's for the streets was funny for a while. But now it's been so overused. It's like, dude, let's come up with something else. Yeah, she's for the streets. Okay. Well, the reason why we're going to get to why this is sort of overused here in just a second. But so if you look at this, most of the girls that are in this thread are talking about, wait is no one commenting on how extremely sexist this tweet is? Well, let's look at that. Well, 435 likes. We have 27 retweets and 168 replies to this. So, and then of course, how is this sexist? Blah, blah, blah. But by and large, most of the people who jumped in on this, and remember here, Joe Hart is, what is he? He's only got 30, he's a mid-range, what I would consider a mid-range account. He doesn't follow me. I don't follow Joe. I don't know him from Adam. Whatever. Here's a plug for you, Joe. But I thought this was an interesting. I mean, it's certainly, let's just say it's agitating. I don't want to call it bait because it's not necessarily bait. Maybe it was bait. Who knows? But I thought it was interesting because that's all it is. All you have to do is throw out that sentiment. If your girlfriend has an OnlyFans, you don't have a girlfriend. Well, okay. Now, of course, what happens is if you go down and you look here, every girl with an OnlyFans uses this occasion to sort of plug their. And I'm not going to show you the pictures here because again, this is a family show. So anyways, yeah, disgusting, whatever. You disgusting or not, whatever you want to call it. Now, I think what's just interesting here is this is something that someone who doesn't get any pussy would say. Dude. So again, everyone uses this. Anyway, I'll be your girlfriend. Oh yeah. Well, that's why, right? Like they're virtual girlfriends. And of course, Evie the Love Witch chimes in. Let's see who else is here. Kind of sounds like he got dumped and his ex is now on OnlyFans living her best life. That's exactly what I did. God, I really wish I could show you some of these pictures. I really wish I could. You know what? I'll put the actually here. Let me just grab this real quick. I'm going to put this in the chat so you guys can enjoy because I can't really put this on. I don't want to put this certainly not in the first 30 seconds here, but you can see, pink sugar. It's like, come up with something original, please. And again, my point in all this, I realize this is all red meat and this is all just, fun and games right now. OnlyFans is cool, dude. Did your ex start an OnlyFans or something? Of course, that's the thing. Oh, here, a pair of boobs, right? Let's see. Ooh, whoa. So anyways, I don't want to go too far in here, but you're just going to have to take my word. You're going to have to take my word for it as I log out of this. Here, I'll put this in the chat real quick. This is the, if you look in the chat link here, there you go. That's the link to all the goodies. If you want to follow that, I mean, if you want to waste your time, okay. I'm just going to give you I'm going to sum it up and sort of paraphrase. And I think you probably already know what I'm going to say here, which is that it's an occasion to sort of advertise. And it's when something sort of goes against the grain and against the narrative, against a gynocentric narrative. That's when you get who hurt you. Sounds like your girlfriend or your wife or whatever. She started an OnlyFans and she dumped you, and now she's living her best life because she's making all kinds of money. Blah 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 blah. Yes, Eric, they are all land whales. So why is this inflammatory? I mean, it's one sentence. If you don't have a girlfriend, why is that a big deal? Now, the reason I wanted to start with this today is because I think if you guys heard me talking on, I think it was Rule 0 last week. If you heard me talking about this, I've said in the past, and I will say it again here, is that I think that men need to be more, especially men, need to be more judgmental and not less judgmental. Does that rub you the wrong way? Well, it should, or it probably does, because we have been systematically taught over the last, 50 years, really since, let's just say the mid 70s, that we shouldn't be judgmental. In fact, that's what we hear from women all the time. Don't judge me, but blah, blah. Here's something that you should judge me for. Here's something that I would judge myself for, but I'm going to say it anyways. And so I really just want you to listen to me. Like, if you don't want me to judge you, then don't say, don't judge me. Or I know this was wrong, or don't take this the wrong way. If you then don't even ask me, because all you want if somebody says, don't judge me, or says, don't take this the wrong way, what they're meaning is you're probably going to take this the wrong way, or you're probably going to judge me for this. Now, if you're trying to preface, and I understand it's just a cat and you're just being casual, whatever. It's like, I know I'm sort of ashamed, but I'm sort of not. But the reason why that's just sort of a casual, throw that out, that disclaimer, right, before you say it, especially for women, is because there's an understanding. Yeah, hoop earrings. There's an understanding that you're going to innately be a judge. You're innately going to make a judgment call on this. And I'm bringing this up now because if you've read book 4, I talk about judgmentalism as sort of being the cardinal sin in the age of emotionalism. And if you've read book 4, which you can see right here, if you've read book 4, you can see that, or you probably already know this, is that I've talked about how in this day and age, the feels before reels, the TLDR didn't read, age of emotionalism, age of ego. In this age, we have to find some way to preempt our innate judgmentalism. As human beings, this is what we do. And so when you see a thread like this, it's a great example of this judgmentalism that is the cardinal sin it's my truth. It's my subjective life. It's my subjective experience. This is how things are. And, men, young men, especially in the generation Z and Zillennials, I guess, as well, see this as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to white knight, of course. We've been talking about white knight since way back in the day, since 2002 at least, where, the more you identify, the more you defend milady's honor, the more likely it is that you'll be perceived attractive either by that girl or, whatever girl happens to be within earshot. Oh, you defended her. That's so nice of you. Hey, let's go have coffee. That doesn't happen, but that's the logic. Like that's the male deductive logic. Remember how I always talk about how guys are innate problem solvers and we use sort of this A plus B equals C logic? That's where that comes from. When we talk about, when I talk about the savior schema, or we talk about being serviceable, or, when I usually talk about this when I'm talking about nice guys. And when I'm talking about nice guys is most women don't believe that there is such a thing as a nice guy, because if the guy's acting nice, it's all like today, especially, it's always suspect of the guy wants to get in your pants. So there's no such thing as a nice guy. They all just want to get in my pants. So if you didn't want to, nobody owes you sex, blah, 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 blah. We've heard this a bazillion times for the last 20 years. Let's think of something new, ladies. But what that comes down to is it comes down to being judgmental. And so guys take that and turn that into a form of game, not being judgmental, not, hey, I'm all about supporting you. I'm all about girls living their best life, right? I'm all about you guys. You girls, go, girl. I'm right here behind you. Remember what we were talking about, the sneaky effers, mating strategy, I guess. Again, not my words. This is actually sociological, Evo Psych, Evo Bio, the sneaky effer. Again, we're not 30 minutes in, so I can't say the word. But that whole thing comes back down to guys more or less pandering. And how do they pander? They pander by not being judgmental, by going, okay, yeah, I'll be a sympathetic ear. I'll listen to you. So remember so let's backtrack just a second. When I talk about how women will preface things, and I'm not saying guys don't do this too, they do, but mostly because they've been feminized to pick up on this as a sort of a colloquialism, or like part of their, whatever, the way that they talk, how they're casual about things. But when somebody says, don't judge me, but don't take this the wrong way, but Usually when a woman is saying that, she's going to say something that she knows on some level of consciousness is going to be taken in a context of, I'm going to make a judgment call on this person, which is kind of ludicrous today in 2021, because at this stage, what's left? What's left? You're showing your butthole on OnlyFans. What's left? I'm not supposed to judge you for that. What do I get to judge you for? Absolutely nothing. And I of course tagged it. Somebody, I forget who, somebody tagged me or added me in that thread. And so I read through it, and I dropped in a link to an essay called The Truth About Standards, which is actually, I wrote it last year. It's a fairly recent essay. And I go into it. And I've talked about this on this show a couple times, is that men are not allowed to have standards. We're not allowed to say, I want a woman who is X. You're not allowed to say that. I usually put this in the context of Rich Cooper giving sort of this 6 little bullet point list of things that women can do to make themselves more attractive. How dare you? I need that sound drop. Somebody give me that. How dare you? How dare you actually have any kind of, how dare you judge any woman to have those standards in the first place? That's really what it comes down to. And that's what's going on in this thread here. And so it's this mishmash of, how dare you judge a woman for having an OnlyFans because she's just living her best life, right? She's making, and maybe she is making money. I have looked at the stats, and since the episode I did about Bella Thorne, grab the bag and run, Bella Thorne. Since I did that, I've looked at some of the stats for OnlyFans, and let's be honest. The vast majority of women who are on OnlyFans, who have sort of their semi-porn site. And remember, OnlyFans wasn't intentionally supposed to be that. It's just that's what it become. I could have an OnlyFans. I'm not going to show my butthole off to you unless you really want to see it. But I'm not going to do that. I might do the show on OnlyFans, and you can pay me, and we can have this conversation for, you don't have to give me super chats anymore. You just pay a monthly fee or whatever it is, right? I could do that, but you're probably not going to, who cares? Nobody cares about that. It's not going to be as successful as somebody like a young lady leveraging her sexual agency. So when you see sort of shingling, I know a lot of guys particularly in the MGTOW communities, black pill communities, they love to throw shame back at women. Well, why? She's just using shame, or they'll throw it at me, right? There's, you're being like a bitch. You're shaming us like a bitch. No, well, the reason why there's that shame is because on some level of consciousness, you understand making judgment calls. You understand, comparisons, really. If nothing else, it's comparisons. So when this guy says, when Coach Joe Hart says, you don't really have a girlfriend, what is he saying there? I mean, we can tease this apart, but before I got into, and I'm going to, but before we get to that, we have to look at the judgment call aspect of this. And I think really over the last 55 years, I said this on the Fresh Fit podcast with Hotep Jesus, I said, we need to become more judgmental. And I know John from Modern Life Dating has said something similar, and some of the other guys on Rule Zero have as well. Is that, and now they apply it to themselves. You need to be more judgmental about yourself. You need to hold yourself to a higher standard. All right, judging yourself, saying what am I doing today that's making me a lazy scumbag, or what am I doing today that's making me a winner? And again, this is not a motivational thing. This is not me trying to kick you in the butt and say, go on out there and do it. But I do want to make sure that I'm giving you something that is applicable to your own life. And the way that you do that, of course, is to be more judgmental. At least make judgment calls. Because for the last 55 years, we have been told that to be judgmental, to look at somebody and to develop any kind of assessment of them is wrong. There's something wrong with you because you're not, you're not focusing on yourself. Well, look at you, man. That's the first thing that comes out of anyone's mouth. If you say, I disapprove of what that person is doing. I would not date that person because she has an OnlyFans account. I would not allow my daughter to have an OnlyFans account. I would not want my dog to have, I would not want Ned to have an OnlyFans account. Sorry, that's just me. Why? Well, we can discuss that, but we never get to that point of why. Because we already say that if you are being judgmental, then that disqualifies anything you have to say. That's why guys don't get to have standards. That's why when Rich Cooper says, "Oh, ladies, here's 6 things you could do that make yourself more attractive to men if you want to lock down a guy." How dare you? Well, where does that come from? Where does how dare you come from? It comes from the fact that you're making a judgment call. This is what most men would like. Now, of course, most men are beta chumps. Most men are in that 80th percentile, and they're right there ready to defend milady's honor as the white knight because they aren't judgmental. They still think that all men are chauvinist, misogynistic pigs from the 1950s. And the way they're going to outshine them is by not being that, by not being judgmental, by not having standards, by not having any kind of criteria upon which that they will become intimate or anything else with women. Now, most guys, because our innate mating strategy is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, most guys are especially younger guys who don't have as much or haven't had as much access to sexuality as hopefully older guys do, they're more willing to tolerate the idea that they should not be judgmental. In fact, they're willing to incorporate non-judgmentalism into their game. Remember what we talked about last Sunday about game? Everyone has game. Everyone, whether it's innate or it's most game is learned, of course, but the idea that guys solve their reproductive problem, part of that incorporates into the idea that you should not be judgmental, that you should identify with women. And the way that you identify with women is you don't be judgmental. So what do? You shame the guys who are. You disqualify them. You form coalitions against guys who actually do have the balls to go and say, I have standards. I would not. If you have a girlfriend who's on OnlyFans, you don't have a girlfriend. Now, I can tell you why, because we'll dig out why that is. But there's the judgmental aspect of it, and the judgmentalism conflicts with emotionalism. So when you see, and you probably have seen the Nike commercial about like, I live my truth, right? Or my truth this, my truth that. It's not the truth. It's my truth. Truth becomes subjective. And only in a gynocentric social order does that make any sense whatsoever. It's all subjective. There's no objectivity to it. There's only a subjective definition of truth for each individual, and that's it. Rather than this is the real world. You want to know why we have such conversations and debates and why people get canceled for saying there's only 2 genders or that men and women are actually different? In fact, we're more different than we are alike. And I can show you empirically, black and white, the data that shows exactly this. I can show you brain scans. I can show you endocrinological blah, 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 differences. I can show you biological differences, psychological differences, behavioral differences. You name it, there's a difference between that goes all the way back into the womb. In fact, I've read articles that say that down to the cellular level, there are differences in your blood that is different from women as a man. So we can go that, but no, we don't want that. That conflicts with my truth, and it makes me feel bad if you say that. So I need my safe space, and I need my emotional, hug box to stay and silence that guy. And as a form of game, men are ready to silence you. They're ready to police your speech. They're ready to reform that male space into sort of this police state, like a psychological police state, right? Where you will be shamed by other men, probably more actively, I would say. You'll be shamed more by men for your thinking and your behavior than you will by women. Because men see that as a form of game. They see that as a means to solving their reproductive problem. If I can stand out from the rest of these typical guys, he's a typical man. That's what typical men think. They think exactly like Joe Hart, right? So what happens is all the guys in that thread go, with the most part, let's just say the majority of the guys in that thread turn into beta, blue pill, chump white knights. And the women in that thread either throw the who hurt you line out in various variations, or else it's seen as a good viral thread on which to promote their OnlyFans page themselves because they're empowered women of the future. So that's the judgmentalism side of this whole thing. And I wanted to make sure that I brought that out here because not enough guys feel comfortable, I think, in at least publicly saying that they have some sort of standard, that they have some sort of criteria. Older women will be happy to hear that you have standards. Women who are sort of on the exit side, I guess. Certainly women who are in the epiphany phase or after the epiphany phase, 29 to 31 years old. That's when suddenly women become red pill, right? That's when they be, oh, well, I need a man who has some standards and who's got, something going for him. And yeah, because they're looking for benefits, but they also realize that they're happy to hear that and they're happy to pile on with that, unless they're still sort of harboring this, gynocentric feminist ideals, which a lot of them do. But for the most part, the women who would agree with you or be happy that a man has standards are usually the ones who are in competition in the later stages of their maturity, who have to in some way compete for guys who would otherwise be going for these young women, who will be going for the woman who's 23 years old, who will be in her peak, sexual market value years, hoping against hope that she doesn't have a OnlyFans account. So why is it? Why is that? Hang on, let me grab Core here. He says, keep up the brilliant work. I will. Thank you, Core. And to every guy, please don't turn the red pill into a fetish. Internalize it and move on. Okay. What else do I have here? Jazzman, I saw you. I'll come to you in just a second. Oh, there you are. Mexicano says, Rollo, the alpha thing to do is to be her e-pimp. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to segue into that here in just a moment. And I've got Jazzman here as well, who says, I think I should get a pass for extended LDR because it's indeed a pandemic. I don't care if it's a pandemic or it's not. Honestly, I don't. Well, if you want to pass, then continue on and carry on. Vaya con Dios, Jazzman. Get back to us. Let us know how it worked out. So I want to actually rewind here. Mexicano said the alpha thing is to be her e-pimp, right? Okay, well, you could say that. You could have other girls, right? You could turn into one of the Tate brothers, right? Have your harem, your soft harem of girls who are all cam girls. Now, that's a good idea. And I know that a lot of girls on OnlyFans have a pimp, a virtual pimp. And I'm going to use the word pimp because it sort of is a catch-all phrase. I think that a lot of the girls who have a boyfriend or have a husband who they're doing OnlyFans with, there is this idea that guys in some way should be more mature or they should be more secure in their masculinity as to not want or as to be totally cool with their girlfriend or wife or whoever having an OnlyFans account and making probably quite a bit of money, I think, if the guy is involved. Now, again, statistically, as I said before, after the Bella Thorne episode, I went and looked at the stats. Can women make a lot of money? Yeah. I should also remind everyone that the biggest career choice, I think it was, for college girls entering college was how can they leverage OnlyFans to be an OnlyFans star? They want to be either an influencer or they want to make some money off of OnlyFans. They want to find some way to sort of pimp themselves, essentially. What do you got to say here? Red 40 says, couldn't the same be said about most women with an IG? Yeah. Yes, they could. In an LTR, they still post half naked pics. Yeah. Yes, they can. Matt, I'm glad you brought that up too as well, because that also, Red Fortitude, that drops into the whole thing I'm going to get into here in just a second, which is I don't want to say it's not... I've said in the past, women's existential fear is to be sort of duped, right? To be tricked, to think that a guy, to believe a guy's cues well enough to sleep with the guy and reproduce with the guy, and then later find out and discover, oh my God, he's actually beta, right? And because that's a life in our ancestral past, that was a life-threatening situation. And so there are sort of subconscious, let's say, subroutines for women to have that intuition, to have that hypergamous filter. For men, it's different. For men, our existential fear is to be cuckolded, because our greatest investment in this life, as far as evolutionary, our evolution and our legacy and our genetics is concerned, is to be tricked ourselves into having sex with a woman and then her going off and having sex outside of a monogamous relationship that we believe is supposed to be just one-on-one, and have that woman cuckold us. Essentially, cuckoldry is the existential fear for men. And I'm not saying that I'm afraid, I'm insecure. That's not what I mean. What I mean, and even for women, I wouldn't say the same thing for women when it comes to the existential fear for them. But that's the sub-routine that's sort of going on in the hindbrain there. And so what's happened is this, and I'm going to back up a little bit further here, is in this age of gynocentrism in the West, in westernizing societies, in any society that is prioritizing women's primacy, let's just say, and in their mating strategy and their women's rights and what I call the fempowerment. The female empowerment is fempowerment in my book. The fempowerment narrative. Any society that's pushing that forward is always going to find ways to, in some way, sublimate men's mating strategy and men's interests at the cost of men's interests to prioritize their own. And when I have in the past talked about, I think I talked about this on Fresh and Fit podcasts, is when I talk about patriarchy, for example, you'll see it in this thread right here in Joe Hart. Oh, this is example of patriarchy and sexism. No. Well, I mean, in a sense it is. Patriarchy, of course, was ideally, patriarchy is a balanced system. It balances men's authority with men's responsibility to family, to the woman, everything else. And the compromise is this, is that I'm compromising my mating strategy, which would be unlimited access to unlimited sexuality for just you, baby. And we're going to be monogamous and we're going to start a family together, and I'm going to be parentally invested. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to provide for you. And hopefully I'm the guy that you really want to bang and you have some sort of genuine interest. I'm the full package, alpha seed, beta need. I'm that guy. But the only thing that's part of this arrangement that I need to know for 100% certainty is that the damn kids are mine. That's parental investment. That is the paternity interest in men. Because if it's not my kid, if I don't know that, if I'm not obsessively concerned with the fact that this woman might go outside of our extra pairing, and go out, reproduce with someone else, and come back and say that the kid is mine, all of my interest, all of my investment, all of my provisioning, everything that I'm putting into these children are not mine. And therefore, I am now an evolutionary dead end. And the men who in our evolutionary past, in our ancestral past, who were obsessively concerned about that, who developed jealousy instincts, who developed anger instincts, who developed being suspicious, let me see your phone, baby. The guys who didn't do that, the guys who weren't that, obsessive about their own paternity to the point where they developed behavioral and psychological firmware to contend with that, those guys did not breed. They did not, their genes went out. And the guys who were, and the guys who were alpha, and the guys who were concerned with that, who did have jealousy instincts, who did have revulsion to women who were promiscuous, otherwise known as sluts, when guys were, the men who had that innate sort of like, at least I could call it revulsion because it's part of the human revulsion response. But if I just say hesitancy, I have a hesitancy to get with that girl because she looks like she's loose. She looks like she's the town bicycle, everybody gets to ride. If I'm not concerned with that, I'm not concerned with my own paternity because she's not a good long-term prospect. So I got asked this on the Fresh Fit podcast as well. Of course, it's the same double standard nonsense that's been going on forever. Right? Well, if a man sleeps with a bunch of girls, then he's a rock star, man. Everybody pats him on the back. He's a good guy, right? Because he slept with a lot of women. But if a woman does it, then she's a slut. Yeah. Welcome to the differences between men and women. That's because men have different priorities when they're looking for women to reproduce with. If it appears to men that you are, to the men that you want to get with, right? If it appears to men that you're easy, if it appears to men that your hypergamous filter is sort of flawed, if that's the way it is, then you're not a good bet for long-term security that the kid is going to be mine. That's where that comes from. It's not a judgment. It's not even so much of it is a judgment call, but it's like they want to make it a moral issue and an emotional issue today. But it's a judgment call in the sense that when you feel kind of, and some guys like, hey, I would look to get with a loose woman and bang her and be on my way. But at least on some level of consciousness, men can sort of suss that out. Instead of saying, well, you're not a slut, you're a high quality woman. I don't care if you went in a slut march, that's fine. You dress the way you want. You have an OnlyFans, do whatever you want to. That guy has been trained and conditioned to sublimate his innate internal judgmentalism about a woman who would make a good candidate for being the mother of his children. His actual biological, genetically proven DNA matched children. That's why. That's where that comes from. It's not because guys are just, well, that's not ethical. That's not fair. Yeah, you're right. It's not fair. Sorry. Life's not fair. Life's not equal. Yes. And yes, I know the joke. Right? A master key is a master key, right? A key that fits a lot of locks or opens a lot of locks is a master key. But a lock that lets in any key, that's just a crappy lock. Yeah, got it. Funny. But it's true. I mean, that's the difference. Yes, the guy who has the sexual prowess and the alpha gravitas, whatever you want to call it, the game, the looks, whatever it is, to follow his innate mating strategy, which is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. That guy who can actualize that guy tends to be the kind of guy that other women want to get with. He's the one who is rewarded with women's sexuality and women's interest and everything else. He's the natural we talked about 2 weeks ago. He's a guy that doesn't, I'm not saying he doesn't have to learn, he does, but it's easier for him because of advantages or whatever else. But the fact remains is that guy is going to display behaviors and telegraph behaviors and cues, whatever you want to call it, that are a result of him having more sexual access than the average guy. That's why women pick up on that. That's why you want to know why he's a superhero. You want to know why he's a rock star. You want to know why he is lucky with the ladies. Because it's this feedback loop. It's this positive feedback loop. Unless something really heinous happens to that guy, he's going to be that alpha. He's going to, for as long as the social order will permit it anyways, but he's going to be able to do that for a while. So yeah, the guy who nails a lot of chicks, who has a higher end count. And again, it's not a competition. I'm just saying this is the nuts and bolts of it. The guy who has more sexual access is going to be the kind of guy that women he's going to display the behaviors. He's going to look like, he's going to act like, he's going to think like the guy, the high value guy that they want to get with. Yeah, sorry. But guess what, women? If you're out there and you're giving it up to any guy that comes on your OnlyFans channel, that says something about you. And I don't care if it's fair and I don't care if it's not equal. Because the only reason women have a problem with the double standard. And remember, the only double standard that possibly exists is, well, men can have sex with whoever they want and women have to be these faithful little housefrows. No, that's not the only double standard. There's lots. Actually, there's more double standards that go against men than there are that go against women. But that's the only one you ever hear. That's the only one, like double standard is like synonymous with women, having to be, chaste and good, while men can just be dogs and bang whoever they want. Right? That's the apex fallacy, of course. And it is an apex fallacy, I should say. Apex fallacy is that the top 1%, 2% of guys who can actually be sort of like man whores, right? Those guys, that's what women look to. Oh, all men are like that guy at the very top of the pyramid. No, the vast majority of guys and statistically proven, I can show it to you black and white, the 80%ers and some would argue 90%, but the 80% of guys who aren't getting laid, the 80% of guys who have to bust their ass and find some end run around your hypergamous filter ladies, those guys, they're not living that lifestyle. They're the ones that are paying for you and your attention on OnlyFans. Those guys. That's the apex fallacy. I don't think I've ever discussed the apex fallacy. Apex fallacy is this. And this is not a manospherian thing. It's just like I guess it's a psychological thing or sociological thing. We tend to build like constants, I guess, or we tend to build we base our judgment of things or our opinion of things on the apex of what it is that, like, it's basically the exception creates the rule. And that's what we go with. Io, what did you say? How to respond when started to sleep together with a woman and she mentions how other guys are interested in her. Well, say, I'm not interested in those other guys. Why are you telling me this? So, yeah. Would you like me to tell you about the other girls that are interested in me? Why? First of all, anytime a woman is telling you that, that's a shit test. Okay. So anytime a woman is saying, "Oh, let me tell you about all these guys that are just fawning all over me," and that, let me tell you all about my beta orbiters. Right? That's a shit test. Okay. Just read it for what it is. That is a shit test. So you have that innate evolutionary side of the whole thing. Now that creates judgment calls. So when a guy is successful with he's lucky with the ladies, he's the guy that can, he's got a high notch count, those guys. That guy is going to display and manifest different behaviors than guys who don't, guys who are, let's just say lower SMV guys. I don't want to call them betas because they're not all betas, but lower SMV guys who have to really work at it. Well, especially for those guys, it's very important to have an innate system, evolved system of making determinations of whether the girl that they're with is going to be a good choice in the long term. Because in all likelihood, if you're in the 80th percentile of guys and you're the beta 80, it is I would say it is evolutionarily imperative for you to get with a woman who is faithful to you, who is not going to cuckold you, who's not going to go and say it's your baby and it's not your baby. We have standardized in Western societies. We've standardized on the idea that men are not allowed to even know the genetics. We will legally punish, OBGYN and doctors and nurses for revealing the fact that the child is not the father's whose name is on the thing. The whole this is not a prediction, but I suspect this will be true though. The 23andMe DNA test will end up going away. Something will happen. It will get a lawsuit will be brought up against it. Something really heinous will happen to 23andMe or those kinds of services where it's like, oh, let's find out what my genetic background is. Because essentially what those are doing is they're more and more saying, showing that the kid's not yours, the baby's not yours. Or there'll be some sort of genetic, I think as we get into like CRISPR and we get into like genetic engineering and we get into, designer babies and stuff like that, I think we're going to find out a lot more about women's promiscuity and cuckoldry. And you will see why that is such an obsessive need for guys. Why it is a need, a biological, psychological, it's part of our firmware, is to know that the kid is ours. So I think what you're going to see is something similar to what's going on right now with DNA tests. Like I know in France, like you're not allowed to get, if you're a father and you suspect the kid's not yours, you're not allowed to get a DNA test. I did that show not too long ago about that black kid who got... he almost got birth fraud. I forget the guy's name now. It's on the tip of my tongue. I did a show on it not too long ago. But the thing is, the guy lucked out more or less. People said you need to get a DNA test. Now, was it a setup? I don't know, but it still illustrates sort of what's going on right now. Is the kid yours? Well, the reason why we're obsessed is because that's what to the same degree that women's existential fear would prompt something like feminine intuition or the female, what I call the hypergamous filter, like this, trying to figure you out kind of thing, developing communication skills, understand. You want to know where women's like greater communication skills came from? And this is me spitballing here. This is my theory, not anybody else's. But I would argue that the reason why women have a greater biological, neurological facility, I guess, with communication is because they had to be very meticulous, because it was in their biological / survival interests that they figure out the right cues. And in a gynocentric social order, we need to legislate those cues to be accurate. That's why I said, like, when we say, well, if the girl sleeps with you and you convince her that you're actually an attorney, and it turns out the morning after that you're a sandwich artist at Subway, well, that's rape, because she wouldn't have had sex with you otherwise. Now, that proves the transactional nature of how she views sex, but it doesn't matter. In a gynocentric social order, that's your ass. So, but the reason why that exists is because there's a fail safe. There's a one, like, for a bad reproductive choice. So if she got with you, she finds out that you're actually not who you said you were, then she had sex with you under false pretenses, and now that's rape. That's classified as rape. Whether or not she was like really into it or not didn't make any difference. She's gonna, that technically she can sue you and put you in jail or take half your stuff or whatever. I don't know. You're liable for damages. Let's just say that's how a gynocentric social order works, and we see that in all aspects of anything that is legislatively part of our intersexual relationship between men and women. So, but why is that? Well, because they had to be very meticulous about those signs. That's the obsessiveness of women, right? You said you were like this. Why can't guys stop playing games? That's where that comes from. Why can't you? Essentially, anytime a woman says, well, double standards, or why can't guys stop playing games, or you just need to open communication solves everything. No, open communication it does not solve everything. Only thing it does is it gives women a sense of well-being, because they want to know that you're the real deal and you're not faking it. That's where that obsession comes from. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's where that comes from. Again, Lord, pull ethics out of this. That's where it comes from. Well, we need to have open, honest, loving communication and connect with each other on an emotional level and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. You know why? Because that's how women figure you out. When I say, if a woman is any woman that Iron Rule of Tomassi number 3, any woman that makes you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. Why? Because she's still trying to figure out. She's still trying to figure out that mitigation. If you were the guy that she didn't need to make rules for, and you were the guy she broke rules for, this wouldn't even be a big deal. You wouldn't even have this conversation. So remember that whenever you're listening to women talk about like things legislatively, like even abortion, like, well, we should all have safe and legal abortion. Why? Well, because it's a fail-safe against bad reproductive choices, and why? And what are those bad reproductive choices based on? Being deceived by the guy, or getting with the guy that she thought was going to be a good bet. Remember what Rich Cooper says? They wait at the finish line and bang the winners. Well, I can't all do that. I thought this guy was going to be a good bet, and I got pregnant by him, but now I'm going to flush his kid because and not have anything to do with him, because abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. He's not the best I could do, so there's got to be somebody else out here better. I'm going to flush the kid, get rid of this dude, and move on. I'm going to be better for it, right? I'm going to win an Academy Award. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to have a better career because I made this choice. It's a fail-safe, because what would happen? Well, at least the belief is that if she had the kid, that she wouldn't have all of that. Her life would be fundamentally different. She's probably right. Maybe not. She might not die. Like in our ancestral past, she might have died from a bad reproductive decision, but it's definitely going to change her life. It's definitely going to prevent her from pursuing opportunities that might have come had she not had any children. Well, you could say she's an actress, well, a careerist women, right? Because we convince women that they should be careerists. So that's the existential fear for women, and that's why they're obsessed about accurate signals. That's why they will punish men legally for not doing that, or sociologically and legalistically, let's just say, they will punish men for representing themselves as being something that they're not. That's why women hate creeps. That's why women hate betas. That's why women want to punch gammas in the face, because what that gamma is always saying is like, well, logically you should want me. Well, what does that say to her hindbrain? That he's trying to trick her into having sex with him and reproducing with him. Of course she wants to punch him in the face, because he's logically trying to say, I'm the one you should be reproducing with. But he does, guys, they don't get that. Guys don't get that. Women don't even get that. They just feel this urge to either get away from him or call him a creeper or, claim he harassed her or whatever else. And the guy doesn't understand it because he's just trying to logically, pragmatically solve his reproductive problem. Yeah. She's obsessed about that because she doesn't want to have her life destroyed either by dying or by missing opportunities at the alpha she could have gotten with because she believed his bullshit about being more alpha, about being something different. And that's where that existential fear plays into all of this. Women also understand that they need to advertise their availability. They need to be eminently available, even after they've been married, even after they've had kids. There's always that doubt. I've used this. Remember, was it Stephen Curry's player for the Golden Knights here? And he's a basketball player. His wife was on The View, and she was crying about the fact that she wanted to have an Instagram and she wanted to be considered sexy still because she'd had Stephen Curry's babies, right? I mean, she was my mommy now. She's like 30, I think. And she was on there just bawling her eyes out because she was upset that people might judge her for having, sexy pictures or whatever on her Instagram because she's the wife of Stephen Curry, right? Stephen Curry. I hope I'm saying that right. Sorry. But why? Why would she? She's got it, everything. She's got the guy. He's an attractive guy. He's an athlete, a star athlete, makes lots of money, got the kids, got everything she wants, except she still wants to be, she wants other guys to think that she's attractive. Because there's always that need for availability. That's why when Rich and I were talking about how and this is pertains to the other question I just got a little while ago about Instagram. Yes, on a different level, I would say. But Instagram is a need for it's maximizing attention versus advertising availability. And in the age of the brand of me, it's never been easier to do that. And it's never been more socially acceptable to do that. That sort of brings us back to, if you have a girlfriend who is on OnlyFans, you do not have a girlfriend. Because on some level of consciousness, men understand, even if they're not willing to say so, they understand that that woman is advertising her sexual availability. That's how she gets paid. That's how a stripper gets paid. That's how a whore gets paid. So yes, ladies, you can call yourself sex workers till you're blue in the face. We can make up some nice little cutesy Sesame Street euphemism all we want. We can call it sex working, or we can call it, therapists, like something therapist. Let's say I'm a swimsuit therapist, right? Whatever it is, you can package it up however you'd like, but on some level of consciousness, on an evolutionary level, on the little pineal gland level, whatever it is. You guys get it. We have that innate instinctive revulsion, or at least hesitation, to women who make themselves eminently sexually available. And again, never been easier on planet Earth and any time prior to OnlyFans to do this right now. So yes, if men have a hesitation, they have every right to be hesitant. Because to the same degree that you want fail safes to make sure you don't make bad reproductive decisions, men have that too. The only difference is, in a gynocentric social order, we make that shameful. We make that illegal. So if a guy says, well, I don't want a girl who has an OnlyFans account, what's the first thing out of any of these people, any of the respondents' mouths in this thread, in Joe Hart's thread? There must be something wrong with you. I go, imagine being this insecure. F you. Fuck you. You're goddamn right. That's not insecurity. It's an investment in my own genetic line. It's an investment in my paternity. You don't look like, as I'm seeing you on Instagram or on OnlyFans or on Facebook, wherever you're showing your ass to whoever's either paying you or giving you positive strokes, affirmation as a result of that. Every time guys see that, whether they're woke or whether I'm not judgmental, there's something in the back of their head where they have to get over that. They have to get over the fact that they look at that and they go, she doesn't look like she's not mom material. She's not mother material. She's not wife material. So ladies, don't get pissed off when some guy says, I wouldn't want my wife to have an OnlyFans. I wouldn't want my girlfriend to have an OnlyFans. There's guys who are going to say, well, yeah, it's great, man. It's awesome. I bought a house because of OnlyFans. Well, you did, but that's going to color your relationship with that woman. You say, well, I like this. Maybe there's guys that can do that. Maybe there's like the ultimate alpha guy who's like, he is poly, right? He's poly, right? He's polyamorous, and he's got a bevy of girls he's got a soft harem. Well, that's going to change the dynamic a bit there, because there's probably going to be girls that he's going to want to bang, and there's probably going to be girls that he doesn't want to bang. There's probably going to be girls who are going to be OnlyFans girls who want only to be with him. And that's their sort of value added, is their monogamous fidelity to that guy. And then there's the ones that aren't. Which ones do you think are going to be the better long-term, solution for him to have kids with? Is it going to be the girl who has OnlyFans and is, well, she's only banging me? Well, yeah, but she's also putting herself out there advertising wise. And maybe it's just a matter of time. But the fact is that, again, the mental firmware for guys is to mate guard. And when women flaunt, like when a woman is on OnlyFans and that mate guarding instinct kicks in, that guy has to be conditioned in some way to sublimate that, to push that down, to say, well, I'm more masculine. I'm not insecure in my masculinity because I let her go and do whatever the hell she wants to. I'm cool with that. Everything's fine. Well, what that's saying is that, first off, you don't care about your own paternity because you're okay with that. You in some way have rationalized or been conditioned to sublimate an instinct that has led to your ancestors, for sure, successfully reproducing. And here you are saying, well, today we don't do it like that. No, you still do. And the machine is still the same. It's just your software is different. You've just changed your software. And as a result, you will probably go extinct. I mean, likely you will probably go extinct. You probably will not have the kind of relationship that you are hoping to have later on down the road, for sure. Again, it's that opportunism. That's really, I can't put it any nicer. When women are and we're paying them, women make money off of women can make money off of OnlyFans. And can make a lot of money because sexual agency is really the only agency women have. Most women have, right? That's why they take off their clothes the minute they want attention. Imagine if women got attention for like putting more clothes on. Imagine women got attention for like doing something out, like, I don't know, painting their face blue or something. Imagine that. That's now take that and apply that. So, well, but that seems insane, right? Well, yeah, it does. But imagine now that the way that women get attention or draw attention to themselves so that people will listen to what they're saying or watch what they're doing or whatever, empower them, is by taking off their clothes. Is that any more insane than, painting yourself blue? I don't know. It's the act. What are you talking about here? Why use Tinder when I know coding, marketing, and I can create my own Tinder where I give myself the advantage? Well, that's exactly what Mark Zuckerberg did. He did. You want to know why Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook? Here's if you really want the truth, he did it so he could spy on girls that wouldn't give him the time of day when he was in college. That's pretty much what he did. He wanted to know it was surveillance, more or less, back then. Oh, I want to see what that girl's doing. Okay. Sign up for Facebook. And what's funny is he was right, because women's nature is to want to display themselves and to advertise themselves and to get attention and affirmation from as many sources as they can. Again, remember, attention is the coin of the realm in girl world. So Facebook, yeah, of course, social media, OnlyFans. I think one of the reasons why OnlyFans is so popular right now, again, not so much because of the sexual aspect, although that is definitely a part. I think that one of the reasons it's very successful, well, why it's so, I guess, seductive, or it's so enticing, I guess, for women to do, is because it scratches two itches. Well, the first one is money, right? They like to have the money, and they get drawn into. I'll talk about the money here in a second. Then the other aspect is affirmation. Those are the two things women like the most, right? Well, opportunism and affirmation. They want to be considered beautiful, and they want the attention. And again, attention isn't all the same. They would rather have it from high value men rather than low value men. But if they can have 10 low-value men give them attention per every one high-value man giving them attention, and those 10 men are actually paying you money to give you that attention, so much the better. Yeah, of course they would want to get into that. I'm also seeing a lot of, and particularly amongst younger women, is when it comes to OnlyFans, is they think that because they're getting paid like they've never been paid before, that they must be doing something right. They're living the best lives. And that's where I want to go with this next. I'm going to answer this. I can see future legislation regarding genetic testing under the pretense of fighting domestic Duracell due to paternity fraud. Great observation. Thank you. And Jazzman, once again, I would never under any circumstances be in an LDR during normal times. Yeah, you would. If you're considering it now, you would be. So are we still going to have that conversation? I don't know. Yep. All right. What was that? Okay. So I also want to get into a couple of things here. If you have a, so here's the operative of this whole thing. If your girlfriend has an OnlyFans, you don't have a girlfriend. Why is that? Same reason that if you're in an LDR, you don't really have a girlfriend either, because she's available to other guys. And if you feel any kind of revulsion, any kind of hesitancy about a woman who has, remember, guys will ask me this all the time. Well, Rollo, what does it mean when she says she has more guy friends than girlfriends? There it is, right there. Availability. It's a woman who is like, again, this is me, but a woman who has more male friends or has an OnlyFans or has lots of dudes following, and thirsty guys are thirsty. Okay. Worldwide, guys are thirsty. I get it, ladies. Again, here we go. But if you're on Instagram and you're hitting your boyfriend up, the guy that's supposed to be the one for you, the guy that you went on vacation with, and you say, honey, take a good picture of me by the beach in this bikini and make it look really good. And no, not that one. And okay, well, that's good. But give me another one. Oh, I got to do this pose. I got to do that. If you're the Instagram boyfriend or the Instagram husband, it's the same effect. It might not be quite as, I think, as extreme as the OnlyFans thing, but it's the same thing. You're helping that woman advertise her sexuality. You're helping that woman look for the guy who ain't you. That's going to give her that adulation, right? That's what it comes down to. Adulate. There's your vocabulary word for the day. Adulation. That's what she wants. She wants adulation. But remember, what's the latent purpose of that adulation? What's the latent purpose of attention, availability, choice? Why is that choice? Why is that important? Well, because the more choice that a woman has, the likelier she's going to find the guy, the one. She's going to find the guy who answers the hypergamous equation, who balances it or optimizes that hypergamous equation. Is he the best I can do? That's the hypergamous doubt. The more guys she has coming onto her, the more guys she has building up her ego, the more guys that she has saying, "You're the here's more money. Here, I'm a pay pig. Here's more money." The more guys she has, women love that because psychologically and ego wise, it's very, very appeasing. But the function of that is that she has more access to more guys who, amongst all of them, one of those guys might be able to answer the hypergamous equation. Is he the best I can do? And if you're the guy who is promoting that, and I'm not even saying OnlyFans, if you're the guy who is the Instagram boyfriend, you're not the guy answering that question, because by the very fact that you're doing that says only a beta, only a guy who is not the best I can do would be doing this. And you can hit up women all the time. I tried to do this when I was on Fresh and Fit with the young girls on there. Like, why? Well, they want to make it about them. They want to make it about emotion. They wanted to make it about some, I don't know, ephemeral experience. Why is it that you like to have beta orbiters, essentially, whether they're online or elsewhere? Why is that? Well, it makes me feel good. But well, I like to do this. It makes me feel power. I'm living my best life by doing this. No, you're advertising yourself while you have a very short window to do so. And that's why you get like someone like Stephen Curry's wife, or other women as well, who want to get into social media or who are addicted to social media because that's the itch that it scratches. Now, remember that women's mating strategy is burns fast and hot. So at 23, she's at the peak of her sexual market value. Women know this. And then after that, it sort of declines until they get to the epiphany phase. Women also know that. So why not? Why not use this? Why not do it? Why not profit by it? Why not make some money off of it? And then if that's where your head is at, then go be my guest, ladies. I'm not going to tell you what or what not to do. But I will always say this, and as you probably have heard me say before, is don't hold men responsible for your decisions. So when a guy says, I don't want to get with a woman who has an OnlyFans, be okay with that. Don't shame him. Don't say nothing. You've made your choice. He's made his choice. We can't do that now because that's shame and that's, oh, you're insecure. Well, why? Why is it insecurity? Why is it that my interest in paternity, my interest in seeing you as sort of this, for lack of a better word, a slut, for being promiscuous, for being, let's say this, for being a bad future bet for ensuring my kids are my kids, right? That's really, but that's the function of a slut, right? It's like, I can't trust you not to be a slut. I can't trust you to tell me the truth that the kids are actually mine. So if I have this innate firmware that directs me to that, why am I shamed for that? While you, on the other hand, are like, you're empowered as ladies for your selectivity because they have to at 23, at your peak market value, the window is very short. So yeah, that's why, absolutely. But we'll shame men for that interest in their own paternity. Why? Why is it that guy is insecure in his masculinity because of that? Well, I'll tell you why. Especially online. And this is sort of a 2021 new order way of thinking about things. There's other ways too. But in this instance, why is it that the reflexive response was, you don't get laid. You must be an incel. You must be incel. Imagine being as insecure as you are in your masculinity. Women should be empowered and do whatever the hell they want to do. Okay, well, what that says to me is that you believe that there should be no responsibility or liability or accountability for women's actions. Judgmentalism. Don't be a judge. Don't be a judgment caller. Don't be a preacher, right? The thing is that we're shamed for men are shamed in a gynocentric social order, are shamed for the exact same evolutionary mechanism that promotes our interests. So prior to the sexual revolution, when we had a compromise between the worst of women's mating strategy and the worst of men's mating strategy as well, now that's gone. And in its place is gynocentrism, which is one-sided. It's very lopsided. Whereas patriarchy was at least balanced by responsibility and authority, gynocentrism is anything goes, and it's all in women's favor. So how do we keep it that way? How do we ensure that women stay in the primary of this social order? We shame men for the things that would in any way inconvenience women's or become a limitation on women optimizing that hypergamous equation. So when somebody says, well, imagine you being so insecure, what they're saying is you should sublimate your interest in paternity. You shouldn't have that opinion. You should repress that. You should repress that interest in making sure that the child is your own. There is no more compromise. It's all one-sided. Women get to decide who reproduces and who doesn't. And if you have a problem with that, well, then you're just this shameful. It's okay to judge men for not repressing it, but we can't judge women for anything whatsoever. So, and guys, I'll tell you this right now. This is the new order aspect of this. One of the things that's going on right now with Instagram, with social media, Facebook, certainly with Tinder, certainly with Bumble, certainly with, definitely with TikTok, and definitely with OnlyFans. Remember, somewhere, somehow, in some part of the web, dark web, whatever you want to call it, you ladies, you are leaving a digital footprint. You're leaving a digital footprint of an ass print, a tit print, a whatever print. You're leaving a imprint of your sexuality and what you're advertising and your activities as a promiscuous or want to be promiscuous or a cock tease or a stripper or a whore or whatever it is that you want to call it, and make your judgment call, that doesn't go away. That's on the internet never forgets. This broadcast right here, even if I lose my YouTube account, somebody somewhere probably was recording this or has downloaded this video or will download this video. You will see my smiling mug, my 50-year-old smiling mug somewhere. And my kids, my daughter will see this. My grandchildren will see this if they are curious. Now, remember, the internet never forgets, but people have very short attention spans. However, I believe that because of the inescapability of our digital footprints today, we have to find some way to alter men's expectations of women going forward into the future. So if we maintain the idea that men should be judgmental, if we maintain the idea that men should be judges of women's character, if we maintain the idea that a woman's sexual past, indiscretions or otherwise, make a difference in men's vetting and choosing women to mate with, to be the mother of their children, to marry, to be committed to for life till death do they part, right? Forsaking all others. If men in some way have any kind of standards and they base those standards off of your digital footprint, well, we can't have that. That cannot be allowed in a gynocentric social order because every woman is doing it. Now, does every woman do it? No, but every woman can do it. It's not that every woman would, it's that any woman can. So your digital footprints, lady, if you're watching this, I link this in the description, in the relevant links. One of my links there is an essay for women. And I wanted to bring this up because I had I forget her name. I had a lady watching on Sunday's show, and she was asking about some links, and that was one of them that I threw in there. And so I was kind of reviewing that, what I'd put in that. It's about a year old now, I think. And I was looking at this, and I was looking at the aspect of value added. And I think one of the interesting things that I asked about when I was on Fresh and Fit, and this was of all the girls that were on there, the first thing out of Fresh's mouth when he's talking to these girls is like, "What do you look for in a guy?" Blah 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 blah. Okay, and then, and to his credit, Myron usually says something like, "Well, what do you bring to the table besides your cooter, right? What do you bring to the table besides your sexuality?" And every single one of these girls said, "Well, I've got a business. I'm an eyelash artist or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, right? Or I've got a business. I'm doing this." And it's never a business that's like I started my startup is a new app that's going to be on iTunes store. It's not that. It's always like OnlyFans is a business, right? That's another thing about OnlyFans and Instagram and being in the age of the brand of me is anything makes you an entrepreneur. Anything makes you a business owner. But that was the first thing out of women's mouth. So when I say, well, what value added do you bring to a relationship? Every last one of them led with, "I have a business. I am a go-getter. I have determination." And it's like, so essentially what you're saying to me is that the things that you believe are value added that men would, beyond your pussy, would want to in some way, link up with you or pair up with you for marriage or for a long-term relationship or whatever it ends up being. All of those aspects are pretty much what would make a man attractive. So you're basically a better man than the guy that you want to be attracted to you. You're looking for the apex example guy. I mean, he's got to be hot. He's got to have a good job. He's got to love his mom and puppy dogs. Well, what do you bring besides your cooter? I'm a business owner. I'm not looking to have a business arrangement. I want a woman. I want a feminine. I don't want to marry another me. I don't want to marry another dude. What do you bring to the table? Well, I think one of them said she could cook. Well, that's good. But, I think most men know how to cook these days. Or if men learn to cook, or if a man's a good cook, it's usually because no one's cooking for him. Or he thinks that it's a good idea. I'm going to cook for you, baby. Like it's a form of game is to be able to cook. But that digital footprint is going to follow you. No matter what, whether it's your Instagram pictures or, I can go to Wayback Machine and find pictures of me from way back in 2002, 2004. It's there. The internet doesn't forget. Like whenever you go on a business or whenever you're applying for a job, what's the first thing the HR department does? They go and they look for you on Facebook. That's, Myron will tell you just as much as anybody, John, whoever, I don't care, whatever if you're dating in this day and age, Instagram is the way we figure out, are you cool enough for me to hang out with? Do you have cool friends? Oh, look, here's a picture of him on a boat with a cute dog. That kind of stuff. You're doing brand management at that point. But the fact that we do that leaves a data trail. It leaves a digital footprint. So if even the girl who looks like the nice girl that I met in Bible study, I'm going to say, well, I'd really like to take her out. If I'm curious, I'm probably going to go look her up on Instagram. I'm probably going to go look her up on whatever. Instagram is just now, right? It might be something different in the future. But that data footprint, that data trail that follows women around generally is women showing their ass off because they want to advertise. Like I was saying before, if you've got an Instagram boyfriend and he's taking pictures of you on the beach, and now you have broken up with him because he was an Instagram boyfriend, right? Now that you've broken up with this guy, well, okay, I'm looking for a new guy, blah, 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 or I'm open to dating right now. Or maybe she went through her epiphany phase and now you find her in Bible study, right? You look her up and you say, wow, she looked real good in, Aruba, having fun, living it up, drinking Mai Tais, and look at all these guys that are with her. Does she have an OnlyFans? Oh, she did. Not anymore. I don't have an OnlyFans anymore. Well, you did, and this is, I was so crazy in my college days, but I've learned my lesson and I've had my fun. Okay, well, I see that. I see you had lots of fun back then. The problem is that now hear me out. The problem is that when a woman gets to her epiphany phase, let's just say, again, round numbers, 29, 31 years old, she's got to cash out. She's got to cash out of the party before the lights go off. She's got to find the guy, hopefully the guy who's stupid and ignorant and not going to judge her for her past. When the most viewed, well, some of the most viewed episodes I've ever done and some of the most read, trafficked, I guess, blog posts I've ever done have been describing the importance of why women's sexual past makes a difference. And the long and the short of that, I'm not going to belabor that, but the long and the short of it is this: is women want men to ignore their sexual pasts. If a woman has 10 lovers in her sexual past, or like that's the first thing that they Fresh and Myron would ask these girls, like, what's your body count kind of thing. Women don't want to talk about that, or they tend to underestimate that. Or they tend to underreport that, as we know. And it's why? Why would that be? Why is it that the innate reflexive response of, like, for men, it's to overestimate, right? It's to overreport. But for women, it's to underreport. I can show you the psychological research for this too. I think Rolf said something about this, or I've got some data on that. Men tend to overreport their body count, and the long and the short of it, their body count, and women tend to underreport that. Why? Why would that be even important whatsoever in the age of emotionalism? Why would that even still exist, even subconsciously? Why would that be the default? Well, because on some level of consciousness, women understand that the more partners they have, the less they're going to be desirable in the long term. And why would that be? Or for men, it's the other way around. Remember, we were talking about the double standard and the guy's a hero because he has more lovers. Well, because the guy who has more access to women means that he's the guy that other women want to bang and other men want to be. Sound like a high value guy? Whether it's real or not, perception is all that matters. It doesn't make any difference. That's why they overreport. Women, why do they underreport? Because they don't want to be seen like a slut. I don't want to be seen like a slut. I don't want to seem like I'm easy. Why? Why would that make any difference? Especially in the age of OnlyFans. Why would that be your first reflexive instinct to do? Why not? So why not overreport it? Oh yeah. Well, I've only been with 50 guys, but actually more like 75. Why isn't that not the reflex? Because on some level of consciousness, women's firmware defaults to underreporting her sexual partners because they know on an instinctual level that the more that they have, the less likely they are going to be seen as a good candidate to be a mother that's going to ensure that whoever the father happens to be is not being cuckolded. Now, again, why is it that men have an innate revulsion to single mommies? That's why you're not a good candidate. In fact, it's confirmed right here, black and white. I'm going to be if I want to get with you, if I want to have a relationship with you, if I want to bang you and hopefully solve my reproductive problem with you, and I marry you, I also, the other kid comes along with that package. Some other man's genes are going to require me to take care of it if I want to get with you. That's why. Don't blame guys. Don't shame men for that. That's instinct. Don't shame them for being judgmental about that. They're ensuring their survival. Why would that be bad for guys? Well, it doesn't feel right. Yeah, it doesn't feel right. It's not according to the emotionalism of this age. So if I go on, I say, well, I don't want to have anything to do with single mommies. Oh, that's terrible. You're such a son of a bitch. F you. Okay, well, why is that your response? Why? I'm only looking out for my best interest and my genetic interests, and you're not the best candidate for that. You know, I can say it nicely. I can sugarcoat it and I can paint it pink for you. But the truth's the truth. That's the objective truth. Is men don't want to get with guys, or more don't want to get with guys. Men don't want to get with women who have already reproduced with another guy. And that's their responsibility and their liability. In fact, the guys that would do that are usually guys who don't have options. The guys who want to be the dad who stepped up, those guys at that time are the guys who are necessitous. They need something. They can't figure it out. They can't I don't have very much sexual opportunity, or I believe that one man, one woman, whatever. So yeah, that's his best way of solving his reproductive problem is to get with a single mommy and hope for the best. Well, what does that say about him to her hindbrain? Well, he's not the best you could do, because if he was, he wouldn't be having anything to do with me. That's what it really boils down to. But he's interested in his own paternity. He's interested in on some level. And if he's not, it means he's been properly trained and properly conditioned to depreciate, to devalue, to debase that evolutionary need to know that the kid is his, and not to make an investment in a child that is not, because that becomes a resource drain. Again, nuts and bolts. We can say, well, he's righteous and moral for doing that, and what a great guy he is. Okay, you can make that judgment call, but you're making a judgment call. So when I make a judgment call, it's not okay. But when you make a judgment call about the guy who steps up and takes over and everything out, then that's good. But when it goes against what you're thinking should be in your own best interest, then I'm an asshole for being judgmental. See how that works? That's exactly what's going on in that thread. Exactly. Oh, you're an incel. Well, why are you making that? It sounds like a judgment call to me. Well, who hurt you? Does it matter? I'm just pointing out the truth here. So anyways, the digital footprint, that aspect of this whole thing, the reason why we are emphasizing this shame, we're emphasizing, oh, you're insecure in your masculinity. The reason why you see, was it iDubbbz and his girlfriend? Like, the reason why you see this is even controversial at all is because of that judgmentalism versus that non-judgmentalism. And in the age where women of this generation, and probably like, I guess the millennial generation, maybe even the generation X too, right? My generation, women realize that they have a digital footprint, and even if you just did like amateur porn on VHS tape somewhere, I've written about this incident before. There's still a trail. There's still an archive of it. There's still, even if it's just in her head, right? But it's like there's ways for guys who are like beta chumps to find out what their girlfriend did in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break with that hot guy. There's ways. And most times women will be the ones to actually betray themselves, because they, on some level of consciousness, they have to get it out, right? How Stella got her groove back. Eat, pray, love. That's why divorce porn is popular. So when it comes to those things, what happens is, in a gynocentric social order, a gynocentric social order is coming to terms with the fact that a woman's sexual past and the hard data, the video, the audio, everything, the pictures, everything is going to be inescapable. And what happens is if women are going to maximize their own reproductive choice and selection and whatever, their options, if they're going to maximize those options, those reproductive options, how do they escape that? How can they possibly escape that? They can't, unless they condition generations of men to not be judgmental, to not do that, to not think, to sublimate their innate interests in their own paternity. And in fact, to feel bad about even considering the fact that they wouldn't date a single mother, that they wouldn't want to have a girlfriend who has an OnlyFans. That's why we have to condition, well, certainly these last two generations, and you will see going forward, it will get even worse. I see kids who are 19 years old. I see punk ass kids on YouTube talking shit. Talking about, oh, I would never do that. This guy must be like that Philian kid, right? I don't pick on him. There's other ones too, but like that, it's this pandering to an imperative, to the female imperative, the feminine imperative, and they don't even realize they're doing it. They just think that that's the way it is. Oh, this is how we should be. Okay, let's look at the mechanics of this. Let's look at the latent purpose. What's the function of this? Why do we feel this? Why don't men get to be judgmental and women are overly judgmental? Especially of guys, if they say that, you know, I don't want a girlfriend or a wife or whatever who has an OnlyFans account. I saw a Twitter tweet somewhere where this girl, I think she had an OnlyFans account or something, and she said, so, you know, guys, what do you look for, and what's a deal breaker or something for a relationship, right? And guys just start chiming in and everything, and then one of the things they said was, she'd have to, you know, cancel. She'd have to close out her OnlyFans account. And of course, everyone lost their minds. Oh my God, I can't believe it's why is it that's like really over the top? Like, why are women so defensive? And, you know, male allies, why are they so defensive about that? Because that puts women, the OnlyFans, in a sense, first of all, it pays women. And then second of all, it puts women into a position of being able to maximize their options with a very short window of time. A very short, like, remember, peak sexual market value, 23. So how long does that last? Let's say 21 to 25, somewhere around there, maybe that 4 or 5. And that's when they have their maximum potential. And we say, well, you know, that's when women have their peak agency, really, their sexual agency. Now, you can prolong that, of course, ladies, but you can try anyways. But I think, again, on some level of consciousness, women realize there's a very short window for them to maximize this. And if every guy is not on board, then that's fewer and fewer options that they have later on. And if women want to prolong that, or at least feel like they can, if they want to prolong that sexual market value, that peak, let's say, I think most women would say that, oh, our agency is evergreen, right? Our sexual market value goes all the way to 40 or something. All right. Well, first of all, it's nonsense. But second of all, why would you want to believe that your sexual market value isn't perishable, when everything in planet Earth pretty much shows you that it is? Well, because the longer women can remain in the game, the longer women can remain sexually viable, reproductively viable, sexually desirable, whether that's physically or that's sociologically or psychologically, that is an advantage. Technically, that's an advantage because it extends women's viable years to find the guy that they can optimize hypergamy with. Remember what we said about, like, Rich Cooper, you know, women don't care about the struggle. They only wait at the finish line and they fuck the winners, right? Most women can't be the one waiting at the finish line. They have to make bets early on while they're still hot. And if they make bad bets, they want to be able to get out of those bets. Well, you can't get out of those bets later on down the road if you had an OnlyFans account, if you had Instagram, if you were selling your ass to the highest bidder on social media. The guy that you want to get with when you are less desirable is not going to want to be with you if you have that following you around. So what's the solution in a gynocentric social order? Convince men that it shouldn't matter. Convince men that a single mommy is just as desirable as a single hot 23-year-old girl. Convince men that they should be ashamed of their parental instincts. Convince men that their obsession with being cuckolded, and I don't mean obsession in the literal sense, but their interests in wanting a woman who's not a slut to feel bad about that. That's why, just because I wore this doesn't make me a slut. Where does that come from? It comes from women wanting to prolong their sexual availability and their reproductive viability. That's why same reason why we freeze eggs. Same reason why we have that guy in the Netherlands I was talking about who's selling sperm online so he can impregnate women who are past that. There's like the women that were in that article I was telling you about on Sunday. Trust me, the guy that knocked these girls up with his super sperm, whatever it is not the guy that's going to pick these girls up in the club. I'm being as nice as I possibly can with that. But that's what we have to do. We have to convince men to be ashamed of their innate interests in their own paternity. We have to shame men into being betas, into staying betas. We have to shame men and legislate against them for being interested in their own genetic best interests. That's why when a guy says, if you have a girl who's on OnlyFans, you don't have a girlfriend. You don't. She's everybody's girlfriend. And even in the virtual sense, and every guy reading that goes, even if they're allies, even if they're like social justice wokesies, whatever you want to call them, even the guys who are the worst blue pill white knight that on some level, that guy has to in some way repress that little voice that says he's right. He's right. She's everybody's girlfriend. But if I say she's a slut, if I say then I'm repressing her, then I'm holding a woman back, and I don't want that to be on my tab. So if I don't do that, women will think that I'm a dickhead, right? They'll think I'm a misogynist if I agree with that, and then it becomes a form of game, and that's how we get to where we're at right now in a social sense. So your digital footprints, lady. I'll finish up with this. Your digital footprints, ladies, if you're watching this, will follow you. And more so, I think the more technologically advanced we become, and we're becoming more technologically advanced, genetically or archiving your past experiences, you will not be able to erase that. Hell, we go back 30 years to Me Too, a guy like Brett Kavanaugh. And women think that's valid, right? For Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court justice guy. Like nothing. There is no statute of limitations on your Instagram. There's no statute of limitations on your OnlyFans. So it's not just about like, oh, my grandchildren are going to know that I showed my boobies and my butthole on OnlyFans when I was 23. That's not it. You won't even have those grandchildren if men don't want to have anything to do with you because you're a bad reproductive choice. You're a bad prospect. Your potential sucks because clearly this is what you'll do. And again, this is not, let me finish. I got to finish with this. This is not a judgment. This here is not even a judgment call. I'm not saying moralistically you should or you shouldn't do those things. I don't care. Whatever your beliefs are, go and do it if you want to. But the nuts and bolts of this whole thing, the reason why sociologically we're trying to engineer a generation after generation of men. You want to know why guys are such pussies, ladies? Oh, I can't believe we need men to man up. Yeah, we do. And you know what part of man up is? I don't want to have anything to do with you because you're a bad reproductive choice. I don't want to have anything to do. Like the good man, the guy who mans up says, I don't want to have anything to do with that because I want the kid to be mine. And if I get married and it's till death do you part and it's we're going to have that compromise, then I'm not going to get with the girl who had an OnlyFans when she was 23 years old because you're not a good choice for that. You're not the girl who's showing off her ass on Instagram in Aruba. You're not, maybe you're a better choice than the OnlyFans girl, maybe by order of degree. But the fact remains is that the guy that you want to man up, the guy that you want to have some sort of, has some kind of respectability, that guy's going to have standards and he's going to be judgmental. And there's nothing wrong with him being judgmental because you are too. You just don't want him to be. You just don't want men to be judgmental. You're okay with being judgmental, ladies. Men are not. We don't get that. We're not allowed to have standards. You are. We're not. Bullshit. And the women that want the guy, especially later on, especially when they get to when the chips are down and they're looking for the high quality guy and they're in their epiphany phase and they're looking for the guy who's going to be the man with benefits, who's also, hot, and she wants to have the guy who is the who has maximized his potential and his going into his 30s, is older than she is. That guy, if he says, I don't want a girl who has that kind of past. I don't want a girl who's had 20 prior lovers, even if she's underestimating it, right? I don't want that, because amongst those 20, there's probably one or two alphas that she's a widow from. I don't want to deal with that. I'm going to go for a girl who's, 24, 25, who doesn't have that past, I'm assuming that I, as a man, am red pill enough and red pill aware enough, and I have maximized the guy that you really want, the guy who manned up. He's going to be judgmental, and there's nothing wrong with him being judgmental. In fact, you want him to be judgmental, because his judgmentalism, in accepting you, his judgmentalism is a compliment to your ego. It's the guy that you want to be associated with. He's the guy that other men want to be and other women want to bang. And if he has had lots of lovers prior to you, there's nothing wrong with that. I hate to say, I know that sounds horribly sexist, and I know that sounds horribly like double standard, but that's the guy you want. The guy who other women want. I'm not saying he has to be like a man whore. I'm just saying that he has to be the guy who understands women well enough that he gets rewarded with sex or interest or whatever else. So that's the guy that is the dude that you want to get with. So don't be all bent out of shape when that dude says, no, I don't want a single mom. No, I don't want to. I'm in a position of control. Finally, I'm in a position of power. I'm in a position of sexual selectivity, and I'm not selecting you. And that is why women in a gynocentric social order have to condition those guys to not be judgmental, to be pussies, to be less masculine, to be less judgmental, if judgmental at all, shame judgmentalism, to shame their interest in their own paternity. That's why it's that, you want to know why women who are, single mommies who get the stepdad, right? It's the dad who stepped up, right? The reason for that convention is because that's what that solves, that actually consolidates women's sexual strategy. She mated with the hot guy in the foam cannon party, had his baby, and you're the chump that's going to go and pay for it. Life solved, problem solved, hypergamy solved. I got what I needed. The best of this guy and the best of this guy. And if he's none the wiser, it's better for me in the long term. Now, most women can't live with that. Later on, they end up like saying, okay, well, I can't live with a chump like this. I'll just divorce him and take all his money, or take his resources, whatever. So anyways, I think I hit everything that I needed to in this one. Let me get back to KD here. He says, I'm 23 and maximizing my potential each day. Good. Keep going. You're just getting started, my friend. Pure focus on myself and business daily. Okay. Sacrificing a lot, but often feel a strong need for female pleasure. Okay. What? Like you want to get laid? Is that what you're saying? Big time energy investment makes me not indulge. Any advice if you were me? Well, I mean, stick to your mission, stay on course. Remember that women should only ever be a complement to a man's life, not the focus of it. And it sounds like you're already there. But that doesn't mean don't spin plates. That doesn't mean don't go. Like, guys always think that, like, whenever I say, spin plates until you're 30, or don't even consider monogamy. I say this also. It's in my books. Don't consider monogamy until you're 30. And even then, don't never consider like marriage. I would say whatsoever now, but like back then I was saying, don't consider marriage until you're, 34, 36. Because you won't be in your peak of sexual selectivity until you get then. Because usually if you've maximized your potential, if you've stayed on course, if you've gone after your ambitions, you have that drive, you have that dedication, whatever you want to call it, determination, passion, whatever, it is incumbent upon you as a young man to, to pursue that, of course, but to stay unattached, to date not exclusively for sure, but like to stay unattached, because those attachments and those commitments to, especially to women, emotional commitments to women will limit you from opportunities that will help you maximize your potential when you get to be 30. They'll be the bedrock, right? The foundation of your success at 34, 35, 36 is created when you're 25, 26. And if you're going, oh, I can't do it because I got my girlfriend and now I need to change majors and I was going to take that job, but I can't because I really want my mommy. I really want my girlfriend. So you stay and you're staying neutral. And 25, 26 years old, you're stuck in neutral because you think that, not that spinning plates is wrong. I couldn't ever do it. I can't figure out how to do it. Rollo, it's just too much effort. If it's effort at all for you to spin plates, you're not doing it right. You're not spinning plates. It should be effortless. It should be something that you're just doing sort of as a matter of course. Don't get locked in. Don't get bogged down, because you will be in a better position and have a better life. And you know what? The woman that you end up with, let's just say this is not an endorsement for marriage, but let's just say for sake of argument, you have a long-term relationship where you get into a monogamous relationship at 34, 35, 36 years old, somewhere in there, like you maximize your potential. Not only will you personally be in a better position yourself, the woman that you're with will be in a better position as a result of that, because you've already had that experience. You've already lived that experience. The things that made you attractive are generally what you had to build at this time of your life. If you can't, then you're doing yourself a disservice when you get to be 36. You're only going to be playing catch up. Hopefully you make it, but like you get to be 30, like I said, 35, 36 years old, you're hitting your stride and your personal potential. If you're doing that and you've maximized that, and again, that's contextual. That's based on you yourself. I'm different. When I was 36, a whole lot different than probably what you would be at 36. When you get to that point, if you have positioned yourself as the winner crossing the finish line and you get to choose which one of the hot chicks you want to get with, the girl that you get with and the relationship you have will be a better relationship, and your kids and your family and everything else that goes along with that. Because remember, it's not just you and banging the chick and having, living happily ever after. There's a lot of other people who come into that, are pieces of that same puzzle. That woman and your kids and your families will be better off because you did it the right way, man, because you built yourself up and you maximized your potential, and you did so. Yeah, maybe you had some chicks along the way. Sure. But you didn't get locked down, and you were predominantly focused on your mission and not the chicks. And okay, I'm not saying girls aren't important. I'm not saying you shouldn't have sex. I'm not saying you shouldn't, that's the whole thing about spinning plates, is to experience women. Later on, when you say, hey, I want to settle down, I want to have a kid, whatever, you're in a better spot to do that than if you're going, if you're playing catch up, if you're necessitous. That necessity will affect you, it'll affect her, and it'll affect your kids, and it'll, assuming you have any, and anybody else who's associated with you. So there you go. Go west, young man. Young man. What else do I have here? Jeff Jones. Sorry, Jeff, I'm not going to be able to put your thing on. Jeff Jones gave me $20. Thank you, Jeff Jones. I don't see anything attached to that, though. Sam Bada is moderating the chat. Thank you. Yay, Sam. I need to get a applause drop. Floss gave me $10, but he didn't have a thing to it. So I'm going to put Irish on, who says, Rollo, surely simpery is the real problem. It can be. Why is simpery a thing right now? Has it always been around, or are we just more aware of it now because of the internet? They only do this because there is a market and we have removed any social stigma around thottery. Yeah. You need to know why we don't have any social stigma around thottery? Because we're not judgmental. You need to be more judgmental. And I don't mean that in like an abusive, like, oh, my dad, he's always so judgmental. You know what? Most women who had judgmental fathers or daddy issues is usually because the daddy wasn't around. It's not judgmentalism. It's, I want to do what I want to do. Okay, well, you're going to do that anyways. You're going to be a thought anyways. So you need... I hear this all the time. I think I put this out there before. I said, is it men's response? Are we our sister's keeper? Because whenever I bring this up, and Joe Hart, actually, the coach Joe Hart, go check him out. I'll give you an endorsement here. You help me with the inspiration for this show, Joe. It's the least I can do. Are we responsible for women? Are we responsible for their actions? I think again, I can show you this on an innate, evolved level. Men have an innate protector dynamic for women. We're here to protect, provide, and parental investment. And do we want to get laid? Yes, of course we do. But we have this, like, men have an instinctual need for sacrifice, and we have an instinctual need for we're instinctually altruistic if we believe that being altruistic will ensure the survival of our kids, or the kids that we believe are ours. I've used this before. It's like when the bullets start flying, men will put themselves between women's bodies and themselves. Right? They will take a bullet. They'll turn, cover her up. There's a shooter. Everybody get down. I think there was a shooting that was in, I want to say it was in not Westwood. It was in, where was it? I think it was in Woodland Hills not too long ago. It was at a country bar. I only remember it because I did a show with Pat Campbell on Pat Campbell's show where we were talking about, it was a mass shooting event. It was at a bar, and guys put themselves in front of women that they didn't know. Same thing happened in Aspen, Colorado, when it's not John Holmes, it's something Holmes. I can't remember the guy's name. Started shooting in the theater shooter. Guys put themselves bodily in front of women that they didn't know. Same thing happened at the Las Vegas shooting, largest mass shooting in American history. And men, again, put themselves bodily in front of women. There's an innate evolutionary protector instinct that we have over women. And again, something that women are happy to have, unless it's an inconvenience to them, maximizing hypergamy. But so is that simpery, or is that, I think that a lot of what we call simpery, or what we call being a white knight, or what we call being an AFC, an average frustrated chump, right? Being a beta. Simpery in this case is sort of, and this is my definition, is guys playing the savior schema. The savior schema is I do something for you and you reward me with sex. It's St. George and the Dragon, right? I slay the dragon for my lady and save her life, and she appreciates me eternally for saving her from the foul beast, and she has irresistible lust for me. We have babies and live happily ever after. Thank you. End of story. That's the mythological side of it. Like, it's I do something for you, I save your life from the saber-toothed tiger, and as a result, because I was badass enough and courageous enough and brave enough to do something, to risk my life and to actually survive the experience, then you are eternally in my debt, and you owe me sex, and you owe me marriage, and you owe me children. It's transaction. It's like the mythological version of the transactional nature of sex. I serve you and you give me sex. I provide for you. I fix your flat tire. I change the oil in your car. I fix your computer. Whatever my service is rendered, right? And as a result of those services, then you at least appreciate me. And then possibly after enough of those services, then you have sex with me and we have kids and you see what a great guy I am. Because this is my dedication for you, baby. Take that to the nth degree with simpery, and you have it's all unhealthy, but like that's the most unhealthy, I think, extreme of that. I'll give you here's $4,000 a month. Just pay attention to me. So what are you doing? You're solving her problems with $4,000 a month. Protect her with this $4,000. Go buy an AR-15 with this $4,000, whatever, half of this $4,000, right? Whatever, go enjoy yourself in Aruba with guys who I'll never be, but here you go, $4,000, right? It's the hope that if you save her from her conditions, if you provide for her, you put her through college. It's like sugaring. Why is sugar daddy? Why is sugaring a thing even right now? Sugaring is pretty much the same thing as OnlyFans. It's just with one guy or fewer men, higher investment cost. What would you rather have, ladies? If you're watching, ladies, if you're an OnlyFans lady and you're probably have not made it this far into the show because we're at 2 hours now. What would you rather have? Would you rather be like entertained like live in person? 2 or 3 guys who are rich as hell and you're their sugar baby, and maybe you fool around with them and maybe you don't. Maybe you just like listen to how their day was going, right? And you're just this attractive girl and the guy puts you through college because you'll give him the time of day. Would you rather have that, or would you rather have like, I don't know, 10,000 OnlyFans fans and they're kicking down almost the same amount of money, maybe a little bit more as a result, or maybe not? What's better? Like high investment, like high intense, like the concentration or distribution? These are things you need to think of if you're going to sell your ass on OnlyFans. And another thing that I think women need to remember when it comes to the digital footprint is those are the consequences. As I said before, I'm not against women. You can be on OnlyFans. I don't have any. I'm not saying shut down OnlyFans. I'm not saying don't do what you're doing. I'm just saying that don't be pissed off when men are judgmental of that. Because all you're doing is, in that case, if you're going to say, I'm going to be judgmental and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and I want to do it liability free, accountability free, responsibility free, and I want men to be accountable for the things, for the mistakes, or to be my fail safe for bad decisions. If that's where you're at, then I do have a problem. If you going in and say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a sugar baby, I'm going to be an OnlyFans girl, I'm going to, be a Instagram influencer or whatever. If you're going to do that by order of degree, you're going to be held accountable for that. And the men that are going to be judgmental of you over that are probably going to be the guys you want to get with anyways. So with that in mind, know going in that that's what's going on. So if that's the case, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you go for maximum amount? Like grab the bag and run, just like Bella Thorne, right? $2 million in 36 hours. Hell yeah, man. She is the epitome of the hustle. You gotta respect the hustle. And girls are all pissed off because she took $2,000 out of the pool, right? The pool of money. Well, this was $2 million that could have been distributed amongst all the girls on OnlyFans, and Bella grabbed the bag and ran. You're only pissed because she pulled it off and you couldn't. She out hustled you. That's the rules. You can make a moral issue out of it, or you can get pissed off at her, whatever. Women were just like losing their minds over that. You got outplayed. And bravo, Bella Thorne. Bravo. I mean, from that perspective, you did well. Now, I'm not saying ethically you're a great person. I'm just saying that you outplayed everyone else. Good for you. You don't hate the hustler, hate the hustle, or whatever you want to call it. So simpery, I think the reason why we've removed any social stigma around thoughterby, the reason that we have done that is because women want to hedge their bets. They want to be able to be off the hook when they can no longer compete at the same level. It's interesting to me because I've said this before about the epiphany phase. And I usually characterize this or contextualize this in terms of the sexual marketplace, right? So when a woman gets to be 29, 30, 31 years old, that's when she's trying to cash out of the casino, right? Before the doors close, right? Before the lights go out. Because she knows, and this is part of the wall, like she knows at some point she can't compete with her 22-year-old self. And this next crop of girls that are coming into the sexual marketplace are going to outplay her. So she's got to find the guy who's going to commit at the end of that. So that's from a sexual marketplace perspective. Now insert the hustle economy into that. So now you've got, okay, well, say you're 22, 23 years old right now, and you've got your OnlyFans and you're making money hand over fist and you're doing really good. Right now you hit 29, 30 years old and you're getting outplayed by Bella Thorne. You're getting outplayed by other girls, like, because they're now 22, 23 years old. They're the next crop of the high performance OnlyFans chicks, whatever. I don't know. whatever they're doing, right? Like for instance, Belle Delphine. Belle Delphine probably still making a lot of money, probably has a lot of guys. I think she jumped into porn, right? She started doing like actual real hardcore porn because she had to up her game in some way because she's getting older. I know that's hard to imagine because she still looks very young. She still looks very, adolescent, let's just say. But she still is not as young as the next crop of girls that are coming in that are taking her formula, applying it to themselves and doing something better. And now she's got to do something to up that game. So you either, ladies, later on, you're either going to have to up your game to the point where you're willing to, I don't know, have sex with a farm animal or something. I don't know what the next level is. Like Belle Delphine had to go and do hardcore porn and was she eating raw eggs or some shit? I don't even know. Right? Do whatever she's going to do to keep guys' interest because those guys no longer are interested in her because there's a better Belle Delphine that just turned 21 or 22 yesterday. And now they're interested in her. So you got to either up your game or you got to get out of the game. And when women get out of the game, that's when they sort of enter what I call it the epiphany phase, right? It's the same thing. We're talking about the hustle economy and not the sexual marketplace, although a little bit. But so the sexual marketplace dictates that, well, women are competing for the long-term guy when they get to be 29, 30, 31 years old in the epiphany phase. They got to cash out. They got to find the guy who's going to be that. Well, you could argue, well, they made a lot of money. Well, maybe they have. And hopefully, ladies, you're socking that away or putting it into good investments so it's there to help you out in the future. But it doesn't do much for you with regard to like emotional security or family security. Because security, long-term security is not just about money. It's also about emotion. It's also about family. It's also about your kids. It's also about mom and dad, whatever. There's a lot that goes into security that doesn't have anything to do with money. Now, that's a big part of it, but there's other aspects of it. So when you get to that point, you either up your game or you, and I mean extremely up your game, or you get out of the game. And that's really sort of in a nutshell, that's the epiphany phase in the sexual marketplace. It's women getting out of the game because there's better competitors that have just come in. And it's interesting to me that OnlyFans and the hustle economy or social media or Instagram or Tinder or whatever else it is, it puts that into very stark contrast. And particularly for these last two generations of guys, they see that. They're not stupid. They're plugged. If they're following you on Instagram, if they're following you on OnlyFans, they know what your sexual past is, or they can imagine it. And sometimes that's even worse, right? So it's not like you want to get with those guys in the long term, but the guys that you're going to want to get with later on, ladies, are going to still be just as digitally savvy as any of your OnlyFans. I would hope they were. You wouldn't even, I don't think women would even consider guys who weren't at least somewhat, online and understood the game well enough. But you're going to have to hope against hope that the guy that you get with will believe your bullshit about, oh, he's not so insecure. He accepts me as a porn star. He accepts me as an OnlyFans. He accepts me as a sugar baby. He accepts me as a whatever. You're going to make that like sort of the sales point. But by then you have no value added. So you're going to see gentlemen, this is for you now, in the future, the girls who are now 23, somewhere around there, the girls who you're obsessing over on OnlyFans in a very short time, in only 5 years, because I think it's getting shorter and shorter, to be honest with you, but let's just say 6 years. It's in the next 6 years. Those women are going to be in a very difficult spot unless you are still stupid. Unless you still think in terms of, well, I shouldn't be judgmental or I'm more secure. Most guys won't care because they'll think that I'll just play the game right and I'll get laid with this girl who I couldn't get laid with back in the day and get sort of the leftovers of everybody else. You have fun with your life. Have fun with the girl that's going to be with you for a little while and use you for what you are and then move on. But women will not be able to avoid that. They won't be able to avoid their Instagram data trail. I tell my daughter this all the time. I say, you be careful what you put on Instagram. You be careful what you put on social media because that will follow you. And not just for guys, but for like job interviews and for, you name it. If someone wants to ruin you, they will find a way to ruin you. They will go, and it's never been easier now. And so when if I have like bad picture, if I have pictures of me from back in like 2002, they're already doing it. These fuckwits are already doing this. Like, oh, let's see if I can, let's find the worst screen cap. Like here's a screen cap for you. Like that. There you go. I feel like I should do this for the guys who want to like roast me or give me shit or whatever. I feel like I should do should I do this? I should do a collection of my worst, like, oh, look, I'm constipated or something like that. Just to save you guys the fucking, time to go and do this, find the perfect screen cap and then like knock it out in Photoshop or whatever else. And then I should charge you. It should be like a service. Like I'll charge like rights managed pictures of me like this, so that like whoever wants to like give me shit can at least I can make like $10 a picture or whatever every time you use it. But if you want to find something from somebody along, everybody has a digital trend. Not just women, but women, it's easier. I think, well, for women, it's easier because women like that attention. It's not just the grift, it's the attention factor. It's the advertising of sexuality, particularly when they're young. And that's when they want to be remembered. Oh, here's me in Aruba. Here's me in here's me in the foam cannon party in Cancun when I was on spring break. Go back and find those pictures and hope against hope that the guy who you want to marry either doesn't find those or he's conditioned like a chump well enough to not care about those pictures. And in doing so, if he doesn't care, he really doesn't care about his own paternity. So let's see, that was Irish Alpha again. Our parliament put an insta thought forward as one of the faces of revenge porn legislation. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. It was thought she was a victim until she said she wanted to be paid for her circulated pictures and shame. So yeah, that's another thing. You will see, I've said this also before, is that you will see going forward the legislation and the laws surrounding what's now known as revenge porn will only apply to women. It won't apply to men. So if you send a dick pic out and women are like shaming you because of the dick pic, then don't do it. Okay. Don't send, like, why that's even a thought in your brain. I don't know why, but if that's the case, women can go pass that around and shame you and call you a little dick, whatever. But if she sends you booby shots and you go and you pass them to your friends, that's revenge porn, because you live in a gynocentric social order and you shouldn't be judgmental. She's just expressing herself sexually. She's just expressing herself emotionally and sexually. And that's just her being an artist or whatever else. And how dare you? How dare you?
You lose. Good day, sir.
Yes. So, yeah, you're right. Watch revenge porn laws. I guarantee you those will be the next thing that sort of gets to turn around. One of the things, and I've said this, I think on a couple of other occasions. Oh, damn it. Sorry, Anthony, I didn't get you. So Anthony gave me Jeff Jones. Sorry, let me get to Jeff Jones here real quick. Jeff says, can we see without the hat or the covering? You got rocker long hair. Yeah, I do. I usually just leave this on because I'm just kind of in between the gym and showering when I do these shows. I'll tell you what, I'll do it on Rule 0. You want me to wear my hair back? I do that all the time on Rule 0. I started at the beginning of the year. I should keep doing it, I guess. I don't know. This is just habit. No, I mean, I have hair. Yeah, sure, if you want. You really want to see it? Yeah, so we can take pictures of you and call you a freaking homo from the 80s. Anthony Finocchiaro. Anthony Finocchiaro. I hope I'm saying your name right, dude. Are you hurting your sexual success if you don't spin plates and are focusing on career and athletics and professional improvement instead? What if your career is very introverted and doesn't get you in contact with women? Okay, well, I really should do a full show on introversion versus extroversion. I'm not saying that's not I'm kind of like an introverted extrovert, if there is such a thing. Maybe there is. I'm kind of yes, I've been a nerd in the past. I'm still kind of a nerd today, but I'm a nerd in the sense that I understand the sexual marketplace. I'm kind of like the nerd that made good. I like certain things. I've been introverted for a good portion of my life anyways. And then I just, I like to do acting. I like to play. I like to act out. I like to do stuff, but like, I'm kind of glad. I just had lunch with Donovan, yesterday, day before. He was talking about how he was because he's here in Reno right now and he's doing his show live from Reno. I might go on with him on Friday. I'm deciding whether he's going to ask me or not. I might do it. But he was saying how he even got recognized in Reno as being Donovan Sharp. Now he's a definitely recognizable dude. Now, if I've been recognized here in Reno, I'm not aware of it because I don't really leave my house all that often. I only leave the house for work, like my real job, or else I am going to the gym or I'm going to band rehearsal. Those are the three. Sometimes I go to the game store, right? That's about it. Sometimes I go to the grocery store, but the three places that I am the most is the gym, my rehearsal space, and trying to think where else I go. I'm running with my dogs. Nobody sees me running with my dogs. So am I introverted? No, there's things I like to do that I guess you would associate with being introverted. But I will say this, is I think that a lot of people think that the only way you're going to get laid is to be extroverted. And I don't think that that's necessarily true, but it does require you to go out and do something. As I said last Sunday, is you still have to put yourself out there. So even if you are, your career is quote unquote introverted, does that make you an introvert or does that make you what you do associated with introversion? As I said, I'll go get on stage and I've acted in Shakespearean plays and I have played in front of, let's see, the most amount of people back in 1991 that I played in front of was about 10,000 people. And that was in my sort of the end of my rock star 20s, or like towards the end of my rock star 20s. And outdoor festival was fun. And so does that make me an extrovert because I am able to do that? Am I an extrovert because I can come on here and talk to you guys for 2 hours and 16 minutes? Maybe. I don't know. There's nobody in this room. I know there's lots of, how many people we got? We got 1,013. I'm talking to 1,013 guys right now. Hopefully a few women too. Does that make me an extrovert? Because it feels pretty introverted in here. I don't even have the dogs in here today. So are you hurting your sexual success? Well, first of all, I would say this is, and this is going to sound really stupid and zen, but I don't look at relationships. I don't look at marriages, and I don't look at your sort of notch count as success or failure. I think that when we start quantifying it by like notch count, like guys will tell me all the time, like, I remember when I was talking to these guys on, I think it was a SoSwap forum back in the day. And I mentioned that I had I was 40, 41, 42, something was my notch count, right? And then I got married, and then that's that, right? I'm with the only person I've had sex with in the last 25 years now has been my wife. So with that in mind, and I say, hey man, I got a notch count of 40. For a lot of these guys who are in like double digits, or excuse me, in triple digits, those are rookie numbers. And then I am talking to Pat Campbell on his show, and I don't know how the topic came up, but it was like live on his terrestrial radio show. And I said, yeah, I'm at 40, 41. Like, because to me, it was no big deal because I've been talking about it for forever. My notch count's public record, right? And his producer, Carly, was like, oh my God, and they're like, and his viewership is very much very traditional, conservative, Christian, middle America, kind of, heartland America listeners. And to say that I've been with even like 20 women, much less 40 some odd women, it makes me a man whore. And I don't know. It just sort of depends on what the context is. So am I sexually successful with guys who are in the PUA community who have like hundreds of lays? Or am I a man whore because I have 40, 41, 42, lay count amongst like Pat Campbell's audience. So am I a success or am I a failure? Or am I just like, oh, you're just having meaningless sex? Well, again, it's one of those subjective definitions. So, but I will say this is like, if you don't, the reason why I say spinning plates is a good idea for guys, particularly younger guys, is because it teaches you non-exclusivity. It also serves as a buffer against one-itis and the soulmate myth. More so than any, like if you're only going to do it for if you're only going to spin plates and date non-exclusively for any reason, the most important, the healthiest way to think about it is it's a buffer against one-itis. It's a buffer against the soulmate myth. It's a buffer against over investing in one woman, because once you experience more than one woman and you realize women's nature and you see it there, it's not just reading about it in the Rational Male. It's not just like, watching, girls talk about, stuff that makes you rage bait on, Reddit or wherever the hell you are, Twitter or whatever you're at. It's not just that. It's you're dating these women and you're experiencing them in real time. And some of them you sleep with, some of them you don't, but like they're plates, right? They're women that you're considering, and you're going to get intimate with some of them you won't, you move on, I'm loath to call it a soft harem, but it's just sort of like this. You're dating non-exclusively. You're actually dating like an adult should date. Instead of going, oh, you're not a serial monogamist where you're like, oh my gosh, she's the only one for me. Serial monogamy is this. It's going from one serial monogamous relationship to the next one. And usually those guys only ever get with like 2 or 3 women before they get to the one. And they only get in long-term relationships. They don't date non-exclusively. Their lay count is probably about 4, maybe 5, if that. And it's usually because they're over-investing. They are in strategic pluralism theory mentality with women. And that limits them from first of all, it limits their experience with women, so they don't understand women's nature and what it is they want and what they don't want. They're just happy to be getting their dick wet. And that's most guys. Don't be that. Don't be most guys. And you have to retrain yourself from all of this conditioning, the blue pill conditioning, to say it's okay to be non-exclusive. It's okay to have concurrent girlfriends or plates or whatever you want to call them. It's okay for that. You should. Women do it naturally. Women have lots more, women are encouraged to have more prospective guys going concurrently at the same time than men are. Always, because women's sexual market value burns hot and fast. They have to. That's the most efficient, most pragmatic way to think about it. And if they don't, that's why I say, if women who make you wait for sex, the sex is never worth the wait. Why is she making you wait? Well, usually because she's trying to balance options, because she has other mitigating things that are going on. I want to see if it's going to work out with Chad over here instead of this, Jim over here. Oh, and then there's you. Well, you can wait. I'm going to see if it works out over here or whatever. It didn't work with those guys. Hey, let's go have lunch, right? So it's knowing that. The only way you get into that is if you're doing the same thing. If you're all I'm telling you to do is use the same methodology that women are doing. Figure out what you like. Stay with what you want. Ditch what you don't want. That's really the thing. So, but okay. And then the other part of this, Anthony Finiciario, the other part of this that you asked me also was, if you don't spin plates and are focusing on career and athletics, personal improvement instead. Okay, what you're asking me is the authenticity before practice or practice before authenticity. And I think that too many self-motivation, like be your best self, life coach hustlers will tell you the same thing. Guys throw rocks at me all the time, and I know exactly where it comes from when they tell me this. How come you're not telling them how come you aren't encouraging men to be their best selves? How come you tell them to do game? How come you tell them to fake it till they make it? They're faking it, Rollo. They're not really it. Like, the reason why they have a problem with that is because they are buying into the same dynamic that I told you about before with women who want to know that you are the real deal before they have sex with you. That's what pisses those guys off, because what they're worried about, what most guys who are concerned with authenticity, like, I'm a real man, like I'm an authentic male. Those guys, the reason why there's that over concern with authenticity in men is because there's a shadow of a doubt that game or going to the gym or doing whatever, or doing whatever might give somebody who didn't do the same amount of work that they did an unfair advantage in the sexual marketplace. That's why. So if I come out and I say, hey guys, I got this new course. It's going to teach you how to get laid no matter what. No matter, I don't care. You can be the worst, scrape the bottom of the barrel incel. Won't make any difference. Follow this program and you're going to get laid. If I came up with that and it actually worked, you know what the first thing would be? You're telling these guys to get with women, and that's manipulation, and they should be their best selves before they actually walk out the door. And if you do that, you'll never walk out the door. How do you know when you're their best self? Right? You need to get into the practice at the same time, and as a course of that practice, to be the authentic guy, to find out who you want to be, right? Wax on, wax off. You don't learn karate. You're not a karate X. You're not the black belt until you learn wax on, wax off. And I'm using that as an illustrative thing. I'm not saying literally. God. But that's what I mean is it's authenticity versus the practice versus the act. When guys will say this all the time, I can't keep up the act, Rollo. I can't. How am I supposed to do neg hits and amuse mastery and agree and amplify? I don't know how to. How am I supposed to do this with 3 different girls? And it's this constant because it's not necessarily a belief in it. It's the idea that it's an act. I can't keep up the act, Rollo. It's not an act. You have to internalize it. It has to become who you are. It has to become second nature. And again, if I write a book about game, that's going to feature heavily in it is internalizing it. How do I internalize this? How do I make this my second nature? How do I change my personality to have a better life? I love how guys will always say, well, you need to be an authentic man and you need to get to the gym and start your own business and follow your passions. And what else did you say here? Personal improvement, right? Athletics and career. I'm not saying that those are bad things. That's great. Please do that. But how do you, at what point do you go, okay, I've arrived and now I think I'll go out the door and meet the ladies. No, it's something that you have to, it's like a process. It's something that you have to keep going. How do you internalize that? How do you know when you've changed your personality? How do you do that? How do you know that when you've internalized the red pill? When it becomes second nature, when you're not even thinking about it, when it just comes out of your mouth. That's not how I never would have. I have guys that will tell me they'll tell me how they walked out on a girl or how they just walked away. They ejected, they nexted this girl. And I think guys end up becoming genuinely I don't say confused, but they become genuinely shocked that they did it. And the response that they got from the woman, because they thought the woman was just going to say, screw you, fuck you, man, bye. And yet they walk away. They don't believe that they actually had the balls to do that because that's now their second nature. And the woman pursues because that's never happened in their lives because that's become second nature to them. So as far as focusing on your career, yeah, please do keep doing that. But you don't have to do it at the expense of learning game, of even just getting into the game, just being attractive. A lot of times, guys think that if you're athletic and that's your career and everything, women are going to end up being a byproduct of that. It behooves you to know what to do when women become a byproduct of that. It behooves you to know women's nature and to be educated in red pill praxology, awareness, whatever you want to call it. And it also behooves you to know at least some amount of game so that, you're not tripping on your own dick, as Ryan would call it. So I think it's both. I don't think there's anything wrong with focusing on your passions and your ambitions, as long as that's what you're focusing on. And keep this in the back of your head. Women should only ever be a complement to a man's life. Not the focus, never the focus. When she becomes your project, when her happiness becomes your goal, you're fucked. You're done. You're absolutely done at that point. Her happiness should never be your goal. Never. I know women are going to tear their hair out when I say that. It should never be your goal. because who you are and the direction you're going and the decisions you make and the authority you assume and your, let's see, career and your athletics and your personal improvement, that right there should be her happiness. Should be why she's happy to be with you. She's happy to be with a guy who has that focus, has that career, is athletic, is dedicated to his own personal improvement, because she benefits from that. Your happiness should be her happiness. I know that sounds, and you know why that's counterintuitive? Because of judgmentalism. How dare you? How dare you think that you should come first? Fuck you. I do come first. I do come first. I am my own mental point of origin. And guess what? As a result of that, you benefit, the kids benefit, the dogs benefit, our families benefit, because I'm the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. And guess who I'm fucking? You. Not them, you. Well, you get first dibs on it anyways. And that's a God's honest truth. Your happiness should be her happiness. And I know that sounds like really selfish and prick-like, but the thing is most guys flip that. Well, her happiness is my happiness, and if I could just make her happy, and if she just tell me what to do, I would, and to make her love me, I would do it. Oh, why aren't we having sex anymore? That's what most guys, 80% of guys, are doing. They flip that, and women go, "Oh, that's the way it should be. My happiness, what's about my needs?" Nobody ever says, "What about your needs?" And if you are concerned with your needs as a guy, you're a selfish son of a bitch. You're a misogynist. How dare you? How dare you? God, I got to get that. Somebody give me that. Give me that sound drop. How dare you? I know that those guys, Fresh and Fit have that somewhere. Fresh Fit, send me that one. SMV Purgatory. Due to upbringing and being financially self-destructive at the end of a recent relationship, I realized I was neither alpha fucks or beta bucks. Wow. You are invisible, my friend. Would it be better to be beta bucks, like a herb? You know what a herb is? A herbivorous man. We used to call them herbs. Royce actually used to call them herbs. Not quite a beta, but just sort of like nondescript. Would it be better to be that dude? Or would it be better to be completely invisible? Most guys are invisible. Unfortunately, you're just realizing that you are invisible. You don't have to be that way, by the way. You don't have to. In fact, I would say this. YZ Woody, you're not invisible. You're not invisible because you are actually realize your invisibility. Most guys who are indifferent to it or don't care, they don't even realize that they are. In fact, what's sad is the guys who are invisible who think that they should be visible. Those are gammas. But yeah, you don't have to be that way, man. And I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not a motivational speaker or anything like that, but you don't have to be that way. You decide who you get to be, man. You know, guys ask me all the time. They'll say, and I hate using that term too. Oh, guys ask me all the time. Well, have asked me in the past. Okay. How do I internalize the red pill? How do I stop being a schmuck and start being awesome? Stop being a loser and start being a winner. Well, that sounds stupid, right? And of course, that's basically what most guys' advice amounts to. Again, I don't give advice. I just give you tools. I just work here, man. I give you tools and you take those tools and you build something up with them. So what are you going to build? How are you going to show me, right? What are you going to do with it?
Hello there, children. How's it going?
Yeah, what are you going to do? I want to see what you do with yourself. I wish people would, like, instead of saying, you know, Rollo, how do I go from hero to zero or zero to hero? I would rather say, okay, Rollo, here's what I did with your book. This is awesome. Check me out. How you like me now? Or thank you, Rollo. I was going to kill myself and I didn't kill myself. That sounds pretty good use of the tools. Existence or non-existence. That's a good use of tools. So at the end of a recent relationships, okay, so why are you not? Then do it. Go. I think what guys mostly don't realize is that it takes just sometimes it's just as stupid simple as making a decision. I don't like who I am. Okay, who do you want to be? You get to decide. You get to tell her. If you went right now, YZ Woody, you went right now and you said, screw it. I'm going to move to, I don't know. I'm going to move to, I don't know where you live. Let's just say I'm going to move to Provo, Utah. And I'm going to not call myself YZ Woody anymore. I'm going to call myself PJ McNasty or what. I don't know. I'm going to call myself, I'm going to change my name. I'm going to get a new social security number, whatever. I'll change my identity. And that's how I'm going to build myself. I'm just going to say, this is who I am. And this is what I'm about. The new people that you meet, they don't any different. They don't care. You can change you could start acting differently and people would eventually accept it because they don't know you. You make new friends and they know you as whatever your new name is, and that's you. You can do that. Most people won't because they like to fit into the categories that other people put them into. So really it comes down to this, YZ, is you got to give yourself permission to be somebody different. That's how you start. You want to know how you go from being like invisible to even to going from invisible to beta bucks? You would have to make a decision to do that. You would have to give yourself permission to do that. Most guys won't do that. This is just who I am. No, it's not. You could change it. You could sell everything you own. You can become a Buddhist monk for I don't know, 3 years and then come back to the States and you'd be somebody completely different. It's all on you. Personality is not static. Get that through your freaking heads. Do I have anything else? I do. Let's see. Oh, YZ Woody, I got to you. Gerard says, when I was a kid, being judgmental to your future wife is important or vetting. I was a kid. Being judgmental to your future wife is important or vetting. They make it twisted now in our society now. Be a prick in a good way. Well, I think that men need to become more judgmental. Now, I don't mean that in the sense that like you got to be an asshat, but you need to know what's right for you. Like a lot of times, like when I was dealing with the girls on Fresh Fit podcast, a lot of guys say, well, why even bother with those girls? Like, as you know, I'm not doing it for their benefit. I'm doing it for yours. But as I mentioned during that sort of rant last Sunday, I also said there's a point of diminishing returns. And what I meant by that is that after a while, once you have sort of major case, and I don't make cases, particularly with women, I don't make appeals to reason with women. If I am, or if it seems like I am, I'm trying to teach a lesson. But when I do that, it's a point of diminishing returns. You can do that with your kids too, by the way, because kids, it'll go in one ear and out the other. You know how like we always say, oh, women are like the oldest or the most mature teenager in the house. Same principle. But thing is that you reach a point of diminishing returns where they're just not, it's not registering and you're not going to change their mind. Unless you know that, unless you have that, like, and maybe this comes with time. I don't know. I think I'm a better judge of character now that I'm a bit older than, like before I would have been a gamma. Like in this era, if I was younger right now, I probably would be a gamma. I'd be like trying to convince, trying to convince women that they should get with me or whatever, because I'm the logical choice. And this is the only thing that makes sense. How come you would not want to fuck me? And you're fucking this, this guy in the foam cannon party over here. Yeah, it makes sense. You wanted to solve a problem. It's a deductive problem solving. Women don't do that, but there's a point where you can't have the discussion anymore. Like I said, it's it's not about the nail. Remember that? I brought that up also on that show. It's not about the nail. Women don't care about the problem. They just want to vent. They just want to communicate. And I tried to make that case. I said, you know what? You don't care about the problem or solving a problem. You just want to vent. That's why you communicate with girls differently than you do with men. And here they are communicating with each other like girls. And here I am trying to communicate like a guy. You reach a point of diminishing returns where she says, it's not about the nail. Okay, now I know that I'm at the point of diminishing returns and you don't want to have that problem solved, even though you say you do. So what do? Well, I back up off of that and I go, okay. At some point, you just got to say, what the fuck, right? I mean, you just got to say, okay. And sometimes that point comes before you even open your mouth. Before you say one damn word, you're like... when I read Hotep Jesus, and I talk to Hotep about this too, every once in a while he'll say like, who did you engage with on Twitter who didn't deserve your time? What are you arguing about on Twitter that is not going to change a goddamn thing in the world today? How are you wasting your time by engaging? How are you wasting your time by not realizing you're already at the point of diminishing returns on Twitter or in social media or with the girl you're with or your parents or whatever it is, or your kids for that matter too. Like, what did you do today? What was it about? Like, I mean, he's being facetious, of course, but like, it's interesting because most guys don't realize that who cares? So what? You know, it's the guy who it's one thing to have mental point of origin. It's another thing to have it like so internalized that you go, you know what? I'm not even going to get involved in that. That's like, and I hate that too, because I had this conversation with Ryan not too long ago, and the guy who is the black belt who can walk away from the fight, like the guy who knows he could kick your ass. The guy, there's this guy. Here's the image, right? Here's the story, like the fantasy, right? You got the guy who's like Bruce Lee, right? Black belt could kick this guy's ass, and Joe Pesci is right there going, "You fucking, I'm gonna kick your ass," and so Bruce Lee walks away, like he could just run roughshod all over this guy. It's cool. Peace, namaste, bye. Now that looks like, to anyone else who doesn't know who these two people are, that looks like cowardice to anybody else, except for the guy who knows he could just basically destroy this guy. It looks like cowardice, and the guy goes, peace out, I'm good. So is that guy a coward, or is that guy just like point of diminishing returns? Why am I even bothering with this? And so I think a lot of guys, particularly in the internet age, when they see somebody say, you know what, I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm not even going to bother responding to this. I'm not even going to bother with this. Like, you know, oh, this guy's coming at you, man. What are you going to do? It's blood sport, first of all. And the second of all, it's like, what am I going to do? Change your mind? You already made up your mind. Who cares? You know, I'm going to go and do what I'm going to do. And if you want to be a part of that, that's fine. It's the same, you know, professionally, personally, you know, like life-wise, ambition-wise, we are what we consistently do, right? I mean, let's think it was Aristotle who said that, right? So life becomes about habits. I create. I'm an ideas guy. I talk about ideas. What is it? Big people talk, or what was it? Great men discuss ideas. Small men discuss people. So, well, if your whole grift is like poisoning someone's well rather than trying to address what it is, you know, if you think I'm full of shit, I'm all ears. Please tell me. You want to tell me I'm a cult leader, I'm a son of a bitch? Well, that's just your opinion, man. So, I mean, and I, you know, I can show you like my accolades. I can show you the trophies on my shelf. I can show you my wife and my daughter and my dogs and my life and everything. And you can say, wow, you know, I really want what he has. I had some people saying that in the shorts comments, and we're at the end of the show here, so I can just bullshit. But in the comments, like I think I had, I know it was. I did the poll on YouTube, and people were, I had some guy say like, you know, well, we want to know, like, you know, you have a good marriage, you have a good kid, you have good life, you have good whatever, you know. It's like guys want to know how to get what you got. I wish I had a formula. I wish I could tell you, but again, that's not what I'm about. I'm not about like flexing with my family or flexing with, you know, what I've done in my life. I'm flexing at all. I'm talking about ideas. That's why I talk about this stuff. That's why I spend 2 hours, 3 hours on ideas. I don't cut up people. In fact, even when I do case studies, my first disclaimer is I'm not trying to tell you that Tommy Lahren is a bad person. You can decide for that for yourself, or Will Smith, or Apex dude, or whatever, Pinnacle of a Man, whoever else is that I was, you know, sometimes I will do. Or Philion, right? Like, I'm not doing that to like burn him. I'm just talking about the ideas and why he thinks the way he does, and why I think it's a mistake. We can talk about that, but again, you'll get to the point of diminishing returns. Well, people go, "Yeah, you look funny. Fuck you." Well, now we're middle school schoolyard, you know, playground, and pardon me for like seeing that and going, well, I'm just not going to engage with it. Who cares? If we want to talk about ideas, let's have a discussion. Let's see. What else did you say? I think it's absolutely just fine to be judgmental of behaviors or what people are doing anyways. Rollo, please stop wasting time with dumb critics. I will. I try to. I try to. Again, it's, if you're a black belt and somebody wants to, some white belt wants to kick your ass and you walk away from the fight, people go, oh, it looks like he's a pussy. Not a pussy. It's just diminishing returns. It's just nothing to talk about. Okay. If you're going to talk about ideas, again, I love ideas. That's the whole thing. If you want to test the strength of an idea, you have to do so in the crucible of open debate. You cannot do that if you're poisoning the well. You cannot do that. Like, one of the reasons why most people talk about what spun cam girls for it was cool. They still single today, but okay, good for you. Yeah, I mean, when people give me grief, I've been doxxed, right? Okay, all right. Every time everybody doxes me, all it does is just prove my point. You're just proving my point. And I know who's behind it all, too. I think most of my followers know who it is, too. Oh, look, this is what his real name is. Well, you know what? Let's say this. Okay. So I use ROLLO TOMASSI as my pseudonym. Okay. Do you know who Gene Simmons is? Do you know who Paul Stanley is? Do you know who Ace Frehley is? Do you know who Sting is? Do you know who Stephen King is? Do you know who Danielle Steele is? Do you know who, and the list goes on. I can find all kinds of people who don't use their real names or their pseudonyms. In fact, I would probably use my real name, except everybody knows me as ROLLO TOMASSI, so I'm good with that. It's on every one of my books for the last, all of the 4 books that I've written that you haven't. All of the work that I've put in that you haven't. It's on everything. I've got, I can't trademark ROLLO TOMASSI because it's actually out of the name is, if you must know, the name is out of the movie and the book, LA Confidential. I assumed that name way back in like 2001 when I was joining forums and stuff. And I just thought it was clever because it's the guy that gets away with his crimes, right? Because you're not supposed to be talking about the shit that we were talking about because you always ran the risk of some feminist running you up the flagpole and being canceled. And now more than ever, it's more important than, having your, what's funny about this is that the people who give me grief about calling myself ROLLO TOMASSI are the same people who won't show their face on screen. They're the same people using pseudonyms themselves. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm just using this as a moniker. Everybody online does. In fact, I'm looking at a dozen different names here right now that probably aren't your names. Okay, I don't care. That's who you are. Good. I'm good with it. I'll be happy to call you whatever you want to be called. Everybody has their own little pseudonym. Good. It's your online name. It's your handle, right? You're on CB radio. Hey, breaker. This is Big Ben. I don't know. So what? And how does that make my message any different? How does that make my ideas? Tell me about my ideas. Tell me how I'm full of shit. I'll be happy to talk about that. But nobody ever wants to. Yeah, he's trying to be Italian. Dude, come on. Please. Yeah, everybody does that. So who doesn't use a pseudonym? And even when you don't use a pseudonym, it's doesn't lay. What's the content? What's your body of work? At the end of your life, it's not going to be about like what name you had or your trophies or your accolades or anything. It's going to be your body of work. That's what it is. What have I done in the last 3 years? I put together a 400-page book. Go read it. Buy it. It's right there. Check it out. Think I'm full of shit? Great. You know what that takes you? You can tell me I'm full of shit after you read that book. After you go, well, let me make these notes here. Okay. Good. All right. So I am done. I think I'm out. Let's see. At 2:47. Yeah, okay. What is today? Today's Wednesday. I will be on Rule Zero. Actually, I got to host Rule Zero. So come to this channel on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about. I'm getting a little tired of the political discourse, to be honest with you. And that's not a cut on anybody. It's just, I think people want to get back to basics. So I might talk about basics, but then like, who wants to talk about basics, right? I don't want to, I'm getting a little, I would rather talk about the ideas that I think other people want to talk about rather than like what's good for like tags or what's going to trend on YouTube or whatever. I want to talk about like, first of all, what you guys want to talk about, but also I want to talk about like, applicability of red pill stuff, intersexual dynamics, game, whatever you want to call about it. And sometimes it's easier to sell that than it is other things. And I hate saying sell because it comes down to like, what can I hustle? What can I trend on whatever my feed is? I don't want to do that. So I don't know what I'm going to do on Saturday, but it's going to be on my channel. So come check out Rule Zero on Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time right here, as you know. What else do I have going on? I will get back to the Sundays. I'm kind of reserving for sort of like Red Pill 101. It's going to be the classroom thing going again. So we will get back into application of game on Sunday. I want to talk about like the basics, right? I want to talk about why neg hits work. Remember those? Neg hits, amuse mastery, agree and amplify, cocky funny. Just some of the basics, and not so much like, oh, here's what you should do. I wanted to explore why these things work and what's the fundamentals beneath it. Chick crack, for example. I've done a whole episode on chick crack. Well, why does that work? What is it about women's nature that makes that appealing? Neg hits, for example. Why? Well, you're just dealing with damaged women. No. Well, it works on all women. It just depends on how you deliver it, what the context is. So we'll get into that. We'll get into more application, I think, on Sunday. So that'll be my direction on those days. Also, last but not least, I will be on Masculine Geek in about, it'll be 6 o'clock my time, so 9 p.m. Eastern time. I will be on Masculine Geek. We're doing the last session. I hope it's the last session of our Dungeons and Dragons game, and I am the Dungeon Master. I'll plunder your dungeon. So I'll be doing that on Masculine Geek. Go look up Masculine Geek on YouTube. You'll find we actually have a whole series of these things. I only do them for like 2 hours, so it's not like you're not committed to everything. But this will be the last one, so this is going to be the final, fun part of this. So we'll see how it goes. I have Aaron Clary on there with me. I've got Vince. I've got TJ. I've got Rob was part of Rob. Rob was on there too, but I got Drew Bay is on there as well. We have a good time. It's fun. So it's just, we let our hair down and we just like have fun. So if you want to check that out, it is Masculine Geek on YouTube. That'll be tonight at 9 p.m. And look for a new post on the Rational Male blog. I should have it up by Friday. So there you go. If you like this show, please support it. All the links are below. And the best way you can, if you don't want to support it financially, that's fine too. But the best way you can help me out is by doing two things. You can share this URL and put it in your web browser or put it in your feed, whatever your social media is. That helps. And then also any book reviews that you would like to leave on any of my books is always appreciated. Those are easy ways to help me that cost you nothing. So with that, I will talk to you guys later. Again, Rule Zero, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time on this channel. See ya.